Are you?
That's not not the. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
I can log in.
I think you did it automatically.
Okay.
I'm just being chill about it. It's normally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's just like.
Not even that.
Good.
Good way. There's a lot going on. It's the time of year.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on my phone. This one's the sequel, so it doesn't look like the same full start.
Yeah, another one.
There's a lot of.
They're there.
I'm gonna be going.
I think I put mine.
I can't. Oh, he's not coming.
I think I was in college.
Because yesterday, through the flooding.
Yeah.
Whatever meeting you had
Incredible,
yesterday.
so fast.
So we have
It's like,
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. This is in reference to the actual event, not not yeah. I should have clarified. So you're right.
I want to make sure that.
You're correct. You're good. All right. I think we can get started.
So we, 1, 2.
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
it.
we're-
4, 5.
How are you?
9.
All right. All right.
It's just me.
So no, you
Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's meeting. This is our regular meeting for the month of March. Matthew Kwame. Before we get started, I'll go through our norms. Be an active, engaged, contributing participant by sharing your perspective and actively listening to others. Be flexible and respectful of others' time and decisions. Be open to other people's truths and perspectives. Be reminded of differences in cultural and social background. Be transparent about concerns, challenges, and misunderstandings. Be reflective, collaborative, and supportive. Always take the work back to student achievement. What can we do to make things better for our students, both academically and socio-emotionally? Respect student, staff, and LSC member confidentiality unless there's a threat to safety. Meetings should be paused if LSC members or meeting participants experience harm due to their identity, including but not limited to gender, sexual orientation, race, etc. The harm should be named. Understand that not everything has a right now solution, and trust that the process is ongoing. Before I go through roll call, just want to welcome everyone again, and we have a sign-up sheet. Folks would like to do public participation. We have 2 opportunities for that. So there's a little sign-up sheet there on the table there, and we can get you in. And so with that, I do a roll call. Matthew Kwame, parent rep.
Ms. Avila, principal.
Sonia Brown, parent. Cece Crosby, student rep.
Megan Topa, teacher rep.
Stephanie Esposito, community rep.
Eric Oakson, parent rep.
Rafi Dodia, parent rep.
Nicole Granicky, parent rep.
Very good. So Lamont has to deal with flooding at his place of business, so he won't be able to make it. Amy did have another prior engagement, so she's not gonna be able to make it. And then Max Bridge is not coming either, yeah. And then Oliver hasn't reached out, but I'm assuming he may show up. If he does, go through that. So with that, you have the next item here is the approval of the order of the agenda. There's one update, item number 9 on the equity framework presentation. Our presenter got themselves into a bad predicament with the floodings yesterday. Whatever meetings they had yesterday were postponed to today, so they won't be able to make it today. So we'll have to reschedule that for another time. So besides that, everything looks fairly okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the order agenda, removing item number 9.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. All right, next item, items needing council approval. The standing item here is to allow LSC members to join the meeting remotely, and there was no such request, so we'll skip that one. The next items have to do with minutes. The first one is minutes from the February 11th, 2026 regular meeting. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the minutes of to approve the minutes from the February 11th, 2026 regular meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Next item, minutes from the January 14th, 2026 regular meeting. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 14th, 2026 regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next item, minutes from the December 10th, 2025 regular meeting. That one, apologies, last time we didn't have the link. I went ahead and sent that over. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the December 10th, 2025 regular meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next item, fundraiser for Fiesta de Artes. It's an event that will be taking place on April 30th, 2026. Those fundraising activities are beginning now, or as soon as this is approved and sponsored by FOP and PSO. We received the paperwork as usual, and those will be available on request. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the fundraiser for Fiesta de Artes that will start right now. Thank you. Any discussion, clarification? All right. All in favor? Thank you. Next item related thereto is temporary leasing agreement for Fiesta de Artes because it's going to be on premise. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the temporary leasing agreement for Fiesta de Artes that will take place on April 30th, 2026. Thank you, Sonia. Yeah? All in favor? Thank you. Next item is
too fast.
Sorry. Next item is temporary leasing agreement for One Northside Community Building Workshop, sponsored by FOP, and we got the paperwork there. I'd like to make a motion to approve the temporary leasing agreement for One Northside Community Building Workshop. Before I do that, the dates, by the time this was printed, the dates were still TBD, but we actually have those dates. And, again, at the next meeting or whatever the case may be, I will share those dates. I can put that as part of the minutes, but those dates have now since been ironed out. So this was to preemptively approve that. So I'll repeat that. I'd like to make a motion to approve the temporary leasing agreement for the One Northside Community Building Workshops. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Last item here, temporary leasing agreement for Willow House Family Grief Support Group. So these are the dates that they are requesting, or that those meetings are going to be taking place. So we have, as part of prior meetings, approved meetings up till September. So, they're kind of planning forward. And so the dates are September 24th, October 22nd, December 17th, all in 2026, and then for 2027, be January 28th, February 25th, March 18th, April 22nd, and May 27th. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the temporary leasing agreement for Willow House Family Grief Support Group on the stated dates here.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. All right. Next item here is the first public participation opportunity. Like I said, they're probably a little fast, but there is a sign-up sheet there if folks, if we get.
Do you have someone?
Yeah, bring it up.
That's me, sorry. Hi, my name's Susie Donnelly. I'm actually a parent of both Peirce, a Peirce sixth grader and a Sen sophomore. And I was just coming here to let everybody know, I was highly involved in kind of the Save Sen Arts effort that happened last year. And a lot of the parents from that effort kind of have put together a collection of, we put together a survey of all the candidates for our LSC. And in order to kind of identify who we thought would be the strongest candidates in support of Sen Arts and where we see we would like to see the school go in the future. And so I'm just here to kind of give a little shout out to that. Let me give you the website. If anybody wants it, I'm happy to share it with you afterwards as well, but it's sennelections2026.org. And on there we have the survey answers from all the candidates who responded, as well as a sort of short list of who we are most supporting from the parents and community candidates. And this is just a reminder that if you live in the Sen footprint, which if you live in the Peirce footprint, that includes you, you are able to vote in that LSC as well as this LSC election. So we hope that you will all just make a short trek further down the road and come help support our candidates, help support our school, and hopefully, we can just continue to build a stronger relationship between the two schools. I know it's pretty strong, but we can see some greater strength, especially considering all the arts that happens here that I'm a newer to Peirce parent. I think we moved here 2 years ago now. So it's been a joy to kind of come into this community and be accepted, and come into that community and be accepted as well. Just see how we can help strengthen the bond between the two schools. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you give me the website on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's sennelections2026.org. So that's SENN elections with an S and 2026.org. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Did not see any other ones there, unless any last minute requests. The usual suspects. Digest first. All right, great. So we'll move on to the next. CC, you're up.
Hi, everybody. So first, reports from the student groups. The 5th, 6th, and 7th, 8th GSA both attended the CPS Galaxy Summit in big numbers this past Saturday. They are also gearing up for the LGBTQIA+ Pride Month by collaborating with the Peirce Pride caregivers to plan the upcoming Peirce Pride Parade and other projects to showcase inclusion and diversity. 7th, 8th Student Council. On Monday, middle school students at Peirce got to participate in a Bear Down on Bullying presentation made by the Chicago Bears mascot. At their meeting beforehand, the 7th, 8th Student Council talked about where they see bullying or teasing happening the most around the school and some solution-focused ways to stop it. I wasn't at this meeting, but I'm hoping to find out more about their ideas. The 7th, 8th BSU organized very successful Black History Month activities over the course of February. At their last meeting, the president, vice president, secretary, and liaison judged the Black History Month door decorating contest. There were winners across K through 2nd, 3rd through 5th, and 6th through 8th. The 7th, 8th Raza Unida. Students in Raza Unida have been continuing to build community and reflecting on their experiences at the Chicago History Museum to share with other MYP classes. The 5th through 8th Student Voice Committee. At the Student Voice Committee's last meeting on Monday, March 9th, we discussed rules, expectations, and choice in the lunchroom. These were finalized and will be posted in the cafeteria after spring break. We also discussed differentiation in the classroom. Learning differentiation is something that is lacking in student voice. Some students want more challenging work and others want more autonomy. In general, all students want more choice in their learning. We as a committee are going to gather feedback from students about this issue in the hope to raise awareness to the concerns and hopefully make change. Upcoming agenda items are equity at Peirce and if students know how to help peers that are going through mental health crises. Next meeting, we are going to Student Wellness Committee. In the Student Wellness Committee, we are working on lots of different things for the month of March. There are health weeks and days in March, and we are working on flyers, posters, and projects for each of them. Some of these include World Obesity Day, Kidney Awareness Day, Sleep Awareness Week, Oral Health Week, and more. Our meetings recently have been jam-packed with projects and discussion. We are also discussing activating the Peirce Garden. There are ways that we might be able to grow fruits and vegetables that can be used in school lunches or be taken home by families that can use them in meals at home. We are also talking about a compost system that could be used at Peirce. This is more of a long-term project, but we've been enjoying brainstorming ideas about it. A few student updates. Last Thursday, I had the opportunity to go into a first grade classroom to talk to them about the LSC and how it works. It was an awesome and very fun experience, and I wanted to bring their ideas to the LSC. They talked a lot about school lunch. There were requests for fresh food, candy canes, sushi, mac and cheese. While I know that the school lunch situation is something that cannot be easily changed, it really seems like something that the admin should be paying more attention to because multiple students have complained about the quality of it. One student thought that there should be vending machines for the teachers. Another kid thinks teachers should be paid more so that there are more materials in classrooms. One student said that they think the turf should be split into two sections, one for football and one for soccer. One student brought up a request with very precise directions, a new play structure. They want the play structure to be called the monkey gym. It should have a little house and a long slide and look like the gym inside the school. So when we change it, keep that in mind.
Will do.
Athletes and coaches requests. I wanted to bring some things that I've heard from both players and coaches on school sports teams. There is a request for a nice camera that can be used to take pictures at Peirce sporting events. This would be a great way to document sports seasons and teams at Peirce and a way to build in-school community. There have also been multiple requests for new sports jerseys. Lots of jerseys are in a bad state. Some even have gum stuck in them. Cheerleaders have also said that the cheerleading uniforms are very uncomfortable, which is not great when you're spending a lot of time in them at competitions and games. Kids also think that Peirce student athletes could benefit from warm-up gear. This could be very simple, like a long-sleeve Peirce shirt that athletes can wear over their jersey while warming up for a game or event. The CPS Galaxy Summit. I was invited to go to the CPS Galaxy Summit as Peirce's LSC student representative. I wanted to share a bit about what the summit is. The Galaxy Summit is an annual event geared towards CPS GSAs across the city. Its goal is to create a safe space to learn about the galaxies of genders and sexualities and to build connections across schools in Chicago. The Galaxy Summit is an all-day event filled with workshops of all kinds. There are workshops on breaking the binary, Vogue dancing, makeup, chosen family, LGBTQ+ stories in media, and more. There was also a resource fair where students got to learn about different organizations around Chicago. At the end, we got to watch some of the students perform Vogue. It was an amazing experience. Students want to thank the Benito Juarez Community Academy for hosting this year's summit and the people who organized it. We also want to shout out Mr. Lerner, Mr. Park, Mr. Papadopoulos, and Teacher Clark for being Peirce's awesome chaperones. And of course, to all the students who showed up, Peirce had one of the biggest representations in the entire event. Peirce sports update. The 7th, 8th basketball teams both made it to the Network 2 championship game. Congratulations to the 7th, 8th boys basketball team and Coach Carvajal for winning and becoming the Network 2 champions. The 7th, 8th girls basketball team was a close second place, 3 points behind in the last quarter. The girls team also won a friendly game at HSA Belmont High School on February 25th. Thank you, Coach Topa. Congratulations to both teams on an amazing season. Congratulations to the 7th, 8th competition cheer team and their coaches, Ms. Moon, Ms. Atsumi, and Ms. Adu, for placing second in city finals. They had an amazing season on the sidelines and in competition. The 5th, 6th boys basketball team is 3-0, and the girls basketball team is 2-1. The boys are playing Clinton on Saturday, and the girls are playing Rogers starting at 9 a.m. Come cheer them on at Sen High School. Spring sports forms are out. The Peirce spring sports are track and field, girls soccer, and flag football. The 7th, 8th girls are trying to form a flag football team. If you know anyone that might be interested, please reach out. Let's go Panthers.
Thank you. Cece, any questions? Cece? I'd like to reiterate congratulations to all the teams. Megan is just gonna sit in there, but so no small part thanks to you. So thank you very much for doing that. And also the amazing results of the cheerleading team. I know they were just really focused on this, and it's great to have seen the program sort of evolve over the past few years. So hopefully they continue doing those great things. In terms of like the uniforms and all that stuff, I think there's been conversation with FOP and how we can possibly help or FOP can be, money can be raised for this purpose. I think that needs to be like an ongoing conversation so we can figure out, because they also have like a bucket of money that they're raising or they're aiming to raise. So the earlier we put those requests in there, it kind of helps them also planning. So
one thing that I did want to mention too, for especially with the jerseys, is part of the new contract with CTU this upcoming year, more additional funds are going to be given for that. So that's something we can explore too, to investing potentially for that.
can you tell more about the Galaxy meeting that you attended?
Galaxy Summit?
Summit, sorry.
Yeah,
So-
so it's like a all-day, sort of field trip. It was on a Saturday, so it's not during school. And basically both the 5th, 6th GSA and the 7th, 8th GSA went to it, most of them, plus me, for Peirce, and there were like kids from schools across the city there.
Was it fun?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Awesome. Any other questions for Cece?
Thank you for that.
Thank you again.
Amazing job. Right.
Great.
Thorough. Those first graders are amazing.
I know.
Yeah, get those candy cans.
We're sushi.
Very specific on the candy cans.
Candy and anything. It's a big difference,
I
right?
have one question. How did you organize the classroom visit, and do you want to do more on this?
It was super fun. Yeah, my sister's in that class, my older sister. So, that teacher had asked me multiple times and we organized it.
I wonder if this could be something that you do, pretty consistently.
Yeah,
I don't know how often, but that would be fun.
yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
The kids love that. They love it when especially, I always tell them with the older kids, if they look up, the little ones look up to you. And that's an excellent opportunity to show that leadership in action.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when kids get to middle school, what's LSC?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really proactive way to help kids start to make sense of what is it and what do you do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Who is driving creating a greenhouse and you said compost?
Yeah, Mr. Crawley, the 4th through 8th gym teacher, is the teacher rep of our wellness committee group. So, yeah. And Mr. Papadopoulos, I'm pretty sure, is part of the grown-up wellness committee group, so we're sort of collaborating on that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
There used to be planter boxes out on the Gregory side. I don't know if they're still there or not. They're kind of like white partial curve shapes. Those were part of a nonprofit that was around maybe 10 years ago or so that was doing planter boxes all throughout the country.
I believe it's called Learning Gardens.
Still there.
Very good. All right. Next item, principal's report.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I apologize for my novel. I tried to cut it down as much as I could. But there was a lot of things to share, especially a lot of wonderful things to share. So let's start with teacher staff. So we had our LSC candidate forum for teachers and non-teaching staff. Was held Thursday, February 26th from 3:45 to 4:15 in the school library. Candidates for those respective positions shared their candidate statements and answer any questions from teaching, non-teaching staff. This week, the CPS 5 Essentials will be closing on Friday, March 13th. I've reminded teachers again, in order for us to receive a report, we have to be at that 50% plus threshold to be able to. We were very close, so I'm hoping we hit that mark by this Friday, so we're very, very close. We did actually allot some time for the teachers today during GLTs. I visited all the grade levels today, just reminding them and giving them that time as well. So hopefully that percentage, we hit that mark before Friday. Steve and Peirce, what an incredible turnout. And I just want to give a shout out to all the teachers and all the students. Like, I was really impressed by the students' participation. And I have one person in particular that I want to mention that was a guest that day during STEAM night that kept raving about it. If you look at the pictures there, that's my son. He visited and he really got attached to Sally's daughter. We stopped talking about her. We got home. So he was like, wow, it was such a great time, Dad. Bring me again for all the events. I'm like, okay. So a massive thank you to all the teachers for all the incredible work and such engaging experiments, and to the students too for their balanced creativity and problem-solving skills. I want to give a huge shout out to Ms. Cook Bay and Ms. Parks. So last week was National School Social Worker Week, but it's also National Social Work Month. So we want to really give them a big shout out for all that they do. They are so compassionate, the patience and the dedication that they bring to students on a day in and day out. It really shows that, they're always checking up on the students that they work with, and even students that they don't work with, because that's how much their passion is there. And, we really appreciate them, and we're so lucky to have such wonderful social workers here at Peirce. Parent community updates, just some important key dates for parents to be aware of. No school, there's a professional development day, Tuesday, March 17th, and Friday, April 3rd. So there'll be no school for students on those days. Our LSC elections are scheduled for Wednesday, March 18th. The times are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Parent-teacher conferences will be Wednesday, March 18th. I did add it under the bullet point further down with the times and everything. That's just the date. In spring break, no school for kids are from March 23rd to the 27th. Classes will resume on March 30th. And then we had our LSC election forum for our parent candidates, our community candidates, and teaching and non-teaching on Thursday, February 26th from 5:30 to 7 in the school auditorium. Candidates share their candidate statements and answer any questions, if any questions from the audience members. I did hold a coffee with the principal last week. Big thank you to the parents who showed up with a copy of the principal. Appreciate the time and the engagement and thoughtful participation. Among some of the topics that were discussed were an introduction to our AP list, more proper introduction. CIWP updates, LSC election information, and key upcoming dates. You'll actually see, I believe that's in here somewhere. This is right here. That's that page right there with the deck from the meeting. And that's also it was posted also on the SMORE as well. Our equity forum, what a huge shout out to everyone, especially to Mr. Tread, to Jess Tansey, to Nicole Granacci, to Ben McKay, for bringing this to fruition. It was such a wonderful night. We had a pretty decent turnout. I think, it's a step in the right direction to many more, fruitful forums that I think, especially with the promotion of restorative practices, I think it was a good step in the right direction. So I'm very grateful to all of those members who helped bring this to fruition, and thank you to all the parents who were able to attend such a powerful session that focused on sharing our commitment to improving our school culture. Okay, this is the long list. Student recognition and events. So Panther Pride, that's what I'm calling my updates now. So huge congratulations to our 5th, 8th grade cheerleading team. What a wonderful and exceptional season that they had. After a season of relentless practice and incredible dedication, they took the big stage on the city scene and secured an impressive 2nd place finish. It's a powerful testament to their hard work and collective spirit they brought to the routine. We're extremely proud of these athletes. There's a beautiful picture of them, and there's also a link on the next page in the electronic link where there are many more pictures that I shared too from the event that the parent was so gracious to share with me. Also, huge congratulations to our 7th to 8th grade boys basketball, our Network 2 champs. They poured their hearts out into every game, showing that incredible hard work and dedication. While their journey did end with a tough loss to Morgan Park, a 49-22 loss to Morgan Park, that game does not diminish the heart they shed all season. So huge shout out to our Valley Boys 7th and 8th grade basketball team. And our girls basketball team, our 7th and 8th grade girls basketball, on an incredible season, giving them a huge shout out as well for their hard work and effort, especially the wonderful coach Ms. Topa that they had as well. They narrowly missed the title. They for the 21-23 final score against Coon Lake, but we couldn't be more harder of the heart, the effort that they showed in the court. Our 5th and 6th grade boys and girls teams, they had their last game, they did have some very tight victories, 25-24 against Chappelle. Their girls basketball final score 15-18. And CC said their games are upcoming this Saturday. Our chess team placed first place. So we're thrilled to announce that on Saturday, February 21st, the Peirce chess team brought the first place trophy home. The novice section of the Great Chicago Chess Championship. Huge shout out to the parents and coaches for their tireless effort and support. We're really proud of our Panthers for representing Peirce so well on the big stage. I really want to recognize some of the players too for their individual performance too. Mahid Ahmed in 7th grade won first place as an individual player. Liam Kane in 7th grade won 2nd place as an individual player. And Mila Budik in 8th grade won 4th place as an individual player. So shout out to them for all their extreme hard work. We had also a lot of other events happening. We had our 4th grade playmakers. So we had a playmakers lab work with our 4th grade students in partnership with our arts partnership. On March 6th, we participated in the culminating activities, celebrating their learning and creativity that they developed through their learning experience. Our 5th grade writers theater, again through the arts partnership, they were wrapping up, and I want to give them a huge shout out with work with writers theater. Especially in these past 2 weeks, they really took a deep dive into Esperanza Rising. Myself, AP Populis, a lot of parents showed up and supported them and watched their wonderful performances, their interpretation of Esperanza Rising. And it was such a beautiful to watch, the creativity and the effort that the students brought to it. And you can really tell how genuine the creation was coming from the student lens. So shout out to the 5th grade team. We also had our Q3 learning celebrations. I told you Friday was a very busy day. Like it was busy every day, all day. We had our Q3 learning celebrations, our color houses. Hats off to the Red Color House. They took for their hard work and dedication this past quarter. They came in first place in the 3rd quarter. This really highlights the student development across the IB learner profile attributes. So this event showcased those achievements, their creativity and global mindedness, reflecting the holistic approach of our IB curriculum in nurturing thoughtful, principled, and caring individuals ready to make a positive impact in the world. I already mentioned STEAM Night, but again, a huge shout out to the kids as well, again, for their diligent participation in such engaging experiments and challenging and leading those activities. The student CPS 5 Essentials is closing. Happy to say we have over 94% participation from our student group, so we're more than past the threshold for students, so hats off to the kids. And our LSC student elections are coming up too, the same week as the students on March 16th. All students pre-K to 8 virtually attended the forum on February 23rd, or were able to view a recording of our 3 wonderful candidates. So Cece Crosby, Violet Burns, and Albert Gill. You have a deck also, and let me tell you, what a wonderful experience to watch all of these 3 candidates engage with fellow students. And let me tell you, the kids had a lot of interesting questions, especially about school lunch. They didn't talk about candy canes that time, but I think they were just trying to warm us up to it. So, but again, it was such a wonderful experience, and hats off to Cece. She did a wonderful job, and to all the candidates too. I mean, they did such a wonderful job, and they did 2 sessions, not just one. They did 2 sessions, so hats off to them. Moving into the 4 domains of school leadership, so domain 1, organizational leadership. Our professional learning plan coincides with our current CIWP priorities. As you know, we're wrapping up our current CIWP cycle. So while being forward thinking, our ILT is wrapping up the final to-dos for our CIWP. We do actually have the Q3 progress monitoring window opening up, which actually opened on this week, early in March 9th. So as for the current CIWP team that created the last CIWP. So Bianca, I'm looking at you, look out for an invite. We're gonna be having a quarterly progress monitoring to see where we're at with our current CIWP. And if we hit those milestones before we get to the fourth quarter to see if we achieve the goals for the past CIWP. For the current CIWP updates, so the Continuous Improvement Department is asking schools to complete the following for the SY 27-29 plan between February 17th to March 13th. So they give deadlines for every phase of the CIWP. So right now, we're approaching the end of phase 2, which here is listed is student-centered problem, root cause, and theory of action. So the focus here is really like digging deep into the priorities that were selected, which if you look at a few bullet points down, after ranking all the 5 foundations, of the 5 foundations, 2 were identified as areas of concentration. So by default, we have to use effective instruction. All schools must do effective instruction in their CIWP. The second one that was selected was connectedness and well-being as our priorities for our next CIWP. So what we're doing currently at our CIWP is looking at those student-centered problems, identifying the root cause of those student-centered problems. And what we do is we take the data that we have based on the reflections of the foundations, and based on the 5 whys protocol that we're following, we develop a theory of action, which will lead then lead to the next final phase of the implementation plan. That's where the meat and potatoes come in for the CIWP. I did share also some updates that include, you know, what a CIWP is. If you look at the last page, they're highlighted is where we're at with the CIWP process. So if it's highlighted in green, those are things that have been already completed. Yellow means they're currently being worked on. Red means that we haven't got to that step. So again, we as a school, we're following the district timeline to meet those deadlines. Because again, before this Friday, we have to have our theory of action into the system. So they check and they contact the schools, please provide your theory of actions by Friday, March 13th, for example. When we were doing our reflection of foundations, we had to have that in with the ratings for each of the foundations, as well as the priorities that had been selected. A couple other updates regarding CIWP that I wanted to mention too, was when we identified connectedness and well-being as one of our priorities, and also being mindful too of the number of members that we had in the CIWP team, because we were at the max of 12, because usually CIWP teams, they recommend 6 to 12 members. One of the agreements we went with CC too, because we didn't want to take her away from classroom time, is we would embed the conversation into the student voice committee, giving updates to student voice. So not only CC, but also other members from the different affinity groups, BSU, GSA, all the Raza Unida, Student Council, they're receiving those updates as well, and we're getting feedback from them as well. For all so when we reach a milestone, we're giving them updates and collecting feedback from them. In addition, we also added Ms. Adu, our school counselor, to the CIWP team, considering that connectedness and well-being was identified as an area of concentration. And since CC, we agreed that we were gonna have her do that during student voice, we were able to add Ms. Adu to the CIWP team. So she really brings that reflective lens of the component of that connectedness and well-being that we really want to address from a school-wide lens. Another thing that I wanted to mention that we want to capitalize on voice all across from all stakeholder groups is we want to give updates to all the Peirce parent organization groups and get their voice involved in it as well. So right now we have tentatively scheduled a meeting, and the invite is yet to be sent for the 19th to give all the Peirce parent organization groups, the equity committee, Peirce pride givers, all groups an opportunity to hear updates and also give their feedback on, what the work that has been done by the CIWP team to ensure that equity lens, that we're hearing voices from all those stakeholder groups as well. And I also invite LSC too, if you would like to be a part of that as well, we are more than happy to have you a part of that as well. So we can receive feedback from you as we continue through the journey of the creation of the CIWP team. So I wanna be sure that we're collecting that stakeholder feedback with fidelity and making sure that, that there's equity of voice all across, not, for, especially across the parent groups and everything that are formulated, that are part of the CIWP. Okay. Moving on to instructional teams, and very needy here. So our LSC continues to meet regularly to progress monitor the current CIWP goals and priorities. From IB updates. So an IB routine site visit has been scheduled for the end of April. This is part of the CPS certification process through the Advanced Learning and Specialty Program and would enable us to maintain our exemplary status. These visits are designed to provide schools with formative data on IB implementation with time split between meeting with leadership team and observing IB teaching and learning in practice. As the Q3 wraps up, we are continuing also collaborative projects across MYP and PYP. These include 6th grade math and reading buddies, 8th graders serving as mentors to 5th graders for exhibition, 7th graders supporting 2nd graders in research projects, and science 8th grade classes partnering with kindergarten to create comic books that show an understanding of Newton's laws. SPED updates, you have the current data right here in the spreadsheet of the updates for diverse learner data. We continue to grow and appear to be on track to match or exceed the EOY 25 totals for total IEPs and 504s. BHT counseling update, so pretty similar, BHT continues to meet regularly during school to assess referrals of students who may benefit from BHT supports and interventions. Ms. Harrison continues to provide those tier 3 work, those one-on-one check-ins and regular tier 1 SEL lessons. On the MYP side, Ms. Adu continues her weekly lunch budget with each grade band. The CBITS and Rainbows groups also have already started. And as I mentioned in the last meeting, CBITS is basically an evidence-based school-based group intervention designed for students aged 10 to 18 who have experienced trauma such as violence, accidents, or disasters. MTSS updates. Teachers will close out the intervention cycle for on March 30th. The new intervention cycle will begin upon returning from spring break. Bear in mind too, the end, that signals the end because we just ended the quarter this past Friday. And bear in mind too, that it's a 12-week quarter. So that's why we're starting it when we come back from spring break, because then we'll be 10 weeks left of school to do the final intervention cycle. The teachers were notified if any of students were currently projected for summer bridge, and we were asked to contact parents. So the district sent updates to us saying, anyone in benchmark grades, parents need to be notified that, their child may be at risk for summer bridge program. There are only 5 students as of the school year would end today that would be currently projected for summer bridge. This includes 2nd, 5th, and 8th grade students. If a student is currently projected for summer bridge due to science or social studies, a goal must be entered in branching minds. This can be a work completed goal for these subject areas. During our PD day on February 17th, the DESA was completed by all teachers. The DESA is a comprehensive system that is a research-based focused tool used by educators to assess and foster social and emotional learning in K-12. It measures 8 key competencies such as self-awareness, relational skills, and goal-directed behavior to identify student needs and guided tailored interventions. Many students scored in Tier 2 for DESA. Interventions will be provided based on the student's needs. And also, one other update, the network will be providing additional PD for addressing students in tier for SEL on March 9th. Want to give an update on the structural recess for PlayWorks. I want to thank the LSC for approving that training in the last LSC meeting, which we did hold on the PD day. I actually did share the deck of what they presented, and they actually were able to squeeze us in for the recess demo the next day. So because they're like, since we're coming out on the 17th, and since it's fresh in the coaches' minds, I think it would be a best practice if we just did it back-to-back days where they see us present. So the training was held, very positively received by our resource coaches. A demo was held on the 18th, so it was a 60-minute on-site visit for players to showcase their program in action, align with staff, and identify priority areas to support moving forward. So they did provide us with a recap. It includes the highlights of what they observed and the areas of growth. And some of the areas of growth that they recommended including, if the field house obstructs the view of the entire recess area, some recess monitors require classes to stay on one side of the field house, others do not. So they were like pinpointing, is there consistency with the practices happening during recess? Students are often released for recess before recess monitors arrive, leaving unsupervised time. So again, those are the kind of things that I wanted to catch in action to ensure that we're holding recess coaches accountable. And another thing that we're doing is we're developing a cadence, we're meeting with them right now to ensure that if anything, of that nature happens, that, we're gonna go over those systems and structures and remind them of best practices during recess. And students are released to and from recess before demonstrating calm bodies and readiness for transition. So again, it's more like they're trying to manage okay, it's time to transition from lunch to recess or vice versa, instead of making a calm and smooth transition. So those are some of the things that they noted. They also gave us, they did an assessment that's called the Great Recess Framework Results. And that is also here. So it's basically they tabulated based on safety, engagement, and empowerment. So for safety, it was rated 2.8 out of 4, which means in this scale, they mobilized. These areas could benefit from additional resources. So that's the second to lowest rating, with the next rating being reinforce or model, the lowest rating being intervene. Engagement was 2.2, again, within that mobilized area. These areas could benefit from additional resources. And you'll also see there, they give specifics, for example, like engagement. Adults being reinforced rules is one of the metrics that they were looking out for. And empowerment, 2.4. Again, it fell within that empowerment, fell within that mobilized framework. So areas that could benefit from additional resources. So among the next steps, Playworks will reach out for us more about signing on for more services if we decide to proceed with the agreement for SY 26-27. We're going to continue reviewing the Great Recess Framework Assessment conducted, which is attached. It has been shared with recess coaches. Again, this is helpful for us to capture areas that we can improve on as a school. And recess coaches can continue building and, giving them the necessary supports. We are trying to hire additional recess coaches. So we did have a few recess coaches that they applied for other jobs elsewhere, not as recess coaches, they just were on another position outside of CPS. So we're trying to also capitalize on that and get additional recess coaches. And they also shared ideas for suggested themes and presentation highlights that's shown in the recap. And, we're trying, again, like I said, develop that meeting cadence with recess coaches on what was identified to the GRF, the Greater Recess Framework. And on the next page, you'll just see a visual of what they shared. Domain 2, Instructional Core. IAR, Illinois Assessment of Readiness, and ISA, Illinois Science Assessment, that's for grades 5A. So IAR, the window opened March 3rd for both IAR and ISA. So every year CPS administers federally required state assessments that help us gauge how our students are growing academically compared to peers across the state. These tests also help determine where additional supports and resources are needed in school. So as shared already with parents more, our testing window is open. Peirce is currently administering testing right now. Right now we're on March 11th, so tomorrow there was another day of testing. 5th and 8th grade students began testing on March 5th, as well as for the science assessment as well. So the science assessment actually is going to run through March 10th through the 13th, so both entire week. I also did share, I believe I shared that. There's a link on here. My apologies if I didn't share it, but the information deck was shared digitally with parents as well. So giving some more information about IAR and ISA, especially for IAR, what that counts for. So ISB does look at our designation, for designation purposes. They look at IAR results and we get a targeted designation we got the targeted designation this year. So we need to be mindful of that data in order to track, how we're progressing as school moving forward. So as budget season approaches, the money allocated to us is something that we need to take a look at to determine how that money will be utilized. They allocated $36,000 to the school from ISB, but it has to relate to the categories identified in the ISB targeted designation. It can't just be used for anything randomly, like for any purchases. Like it can be used for resources and everything, but in alignment to the needs that were shown in the ISB targeted designation. Professional development, grade level meetings. So we did have our principal directed professional development on February 17th. We began with a community building breakfast potluck, followed by an icebreaker. So our recess coaches, right after, they participated in the 3 hours of the playgroups group management training. Teachers participated in grade level collaboration, which included planning and preparation for upcoming April-May student performances and reflection on during fourth quarter PYP and MYP units to further evaluate instructional effectiveness and make any adjustments for future planning. The staff also engaged in math curriculum review, exploring both Open Up and Eureka programs to compare instructional approaches and resources that support math learning. Teachers also participated in Freckle activities. So Freckle is one of the CPS sponsored domains that, provided to us by the district that support math learning and math practice. And there were also additional sessions that included culture and climate and restorative practice training with Odessa. And pre-K staff had designated training from the Office of Early Childhood. They came and gave like a afternoon PM session, updates and key resources for pre-K. And also our teachers who administer IRA were given their training on the professional development as well. For the upcoming grade level team meetings on the week of February 22nd, so priority standards observation planning was being discussed. To observe live instruction across grade levels as part of the CAWP that we currently have. That was part of conducting peer observations. So that is right now in the planning phases, as to what that's going to look like. And right now the timeline is been projected for after spring break for those observations to take place. Time was given to staff to complete the 5 Essentials Teacher Survey 2, which opened back in February 10th. And also teachers participated in a math curriculum review. In the previous grade level, back in early February, I believe it was actually the day of our last LSC meeting, we did have another vendor, Vision, come out that day. So they had 3 vendors in total, but they could not make it on the professional development day that was principal directed. So that's how we had to divide it up into those 2 days separately. So that's why on this week, we did a math curriculum review survey. So when they were finished with their math essentials, 5 essentials survey completed, they would participate in their math curriculum review survey. The next step for mathematics, just to give you some context too. So site visits did happen. So we did have some of our ILT members conduct site visits to other IB schools to see what the curriculum looked like and ask any questions to those teachers, how they feel about the effective use in an IB school of the curriculum they had. So we really targeted, a shout out to Ms. Leibovitz for arranging those site visits to be able to really see the curriculum in action. Through the month of March, we're encouraging teachers to continue looking through the math curriculum and seeing, what are some areas of strength that they notice in the curriculum and some areas that, they might not be too, fond of and everything. But again, we want to make sure that we're looking at all options, which leads also to the review of the cost options of the 3 curriculums. So obviously with budget season approaching and end of year spending approaching as well, we gotta prepare ourselves for that. So, because it's gonna be a big purchase. Math curriculums are not cheap. It's a huge investment, especially for when purchasing a new curriculum. Once a curriculum is purchased, afterwards, the consumables and everything, it's a little bit more affordable compared to when you're initially buying the curriculum. Final discussions and decisions will go into the month of April, and for the next LSC meeting, I want to provide, teachers' findings on how they felt about the curriculums. I did actually reach out to someone from UIC, thank you for that contact, the touching base where I was able to touch base, and she actually shared a really good tool to assess, kind of like a look score tool when assessing the 3 different curriculums that I shared with Ms. Leibovitz. So we're gonna try to use that tool to be able to really dig deeper into the math curriculums and make a proper decision of what's gonna be a best fit for our kiddos. We didn't have grade level meetings the week to March 2nd due to the end of the quarter being that week. Grades already were due on Friday the 6th at 5 p.m. Grade level meetings this week. That was all me. So we did discuss with them middle of the year walkthrough data as well as the fall cultivate data, and gave extra time for the 5 essentials. Because the 5 essential survey, it's a pretty lengthy survey. So if you do not complete it, you can stop it and continue at a later time. So I wanted to give that cadence to be able to ensure that we met that threshold to receive a teacher report. Q3 parent-teacher conferences are scheduled for Wednesday, March 18th from 10 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. No conferences will take place between 1 to 2 o'clock. That'll be a teacher staff break. But also bear in mind it is also the same day as LSC elections, but those days, the times are from 7 o'clock a.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. Domain 3, culture and climate. Shout out to our Black Student Union, thanking them for everything they did during our Black History Month. They participated in the door decorating challenge, where we had BSU members really take the lead, in developing a criteria to assess the different door decorating challenges. There's a picture of them actually going around and, looking at the effort of teamwork and thoughtfulness poured into each door. And it was really encouraging to see the efforts being placed by every classroom. So, as CC attested to, there were some winners, and I want to highlight those winners. So, pre-K to 2nd grade winner was room 110. Ms. Fabianski is not here, so that was my plan. So she won, and there's actually a link that she had her iPad out. She had a little video clip to go along with her decoration right there. We had a tie actually for 3rd and 5th grade. Ms. Heinlein's room in room 208 and Ms. Moncher's room in room 323. Look at those beautiful door decorations right there. And for 6th to 8th grade, Ms. Negron's room 307, was the winner for 6th grade. So congratulations on those winners for their outstanding creativity, powerful messaging, and beautiful representation of Black history and achievement. As an ultimate reward, they get a movie and show celebration complete with delicious, healthy treats provided by the BSU. No candy canes, I promise. We also had our BSU Student Success Panel. So our Black Student Union hosted an inspiring middle school panel for middle school students featuring guest speakers who shared practical advice on achieving success in middle school and preparing high school, college, and future careers. Students gained valuable insights on goal setting, time management, perseverance, and making positive choice. We are very proud of our BSU scholars for organizing such a meaningful and empowering event. Bear down on bullies. So we had our Bears, Chicago Bears out here on March 4th and this past Monday on March 9th. It was really wonderful to see the excitement level, but I gotta say, I think the 6th and 8th grade, really their excitement level was at a high. Yeah, that's what we saw and heard. So they came out, Staley the Bear was here. So, and they really, wanted to make sure, to get that messaging across regarding them promoting mutual respect, gave students practical positive tools to prevent or respond to bullying. It was a touchdown for engagement in turning a serious and important topic into a team building exercise. experience and empowered both staff and students to stand up for one another. And I did share a lot of pictures, and you'll see that there was a lot of like audience involvement too, and everything, yes, including Staley too, like, you know, with the teachers. So, that was something else. So please feel free to, you know, click to view the photos when you can. Like, it was, I thought it was very positive. They also presented us with an anti-bullying, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
Banner.
Banner, thank you. That we're going to hang up in the cafeteria to serve as a reminder about the pledge that we made for during the anti-bullying campaign for the Chicago Bears. Career Day. So huge thank you to everyone that made it out for Career Day. It was an incredible day to see parents and community members come in, professionals from across various communities come in. We're thankful for that time that they gave. You know, their time is very valuable, but we're appreciative they came to share their expertise to inspire our next generation. Especially you, Eric, too. You're in the pictures too, so.
I made the newsletter.
Right, so, very special shout out to Miss Adu, who really worked hard. Her vision and tireless organization brought this event to fruition. It was very well organized, and
You did
you
an
know,
amazing job.
yes,
Just absolutely knocked it out of the park.
it was well organized. It was on point. So kudos to her. There are pictures there. Please feel free to view those pictures as well. Climate and culture updates. So here you'll have the updates of the year-to-date behavior incidents, which include the restorative practices that have been implemented up to this point, detentions and school suspensions, as well as the year-to-date behavior demographics involving the number of incidents and which students were involved, like based on the demographic. Incidents since the last LSC meeting. So there have been a number of 3 violations, 1 granting an in-school suspension and 1 granting a restorative conversation. So finding physical contact between 2 individuals. So that was from the last one. And then on the next page, infraction 2.8, disregard for instructions or direction of school personnel, causing interruption to students' participation in school activities, which led to a restorative conversation. You'll see also the year-to-date behavior incidents across the district, and below you'll see the networks. And then we also have a comparison from SY 25 to 26. So at this point through week 26, we were at 76 incidents. In SY 26, we're at 38 incidents through week 26. A number of alleged bullying investigations, so year-to-date. So 15 bullying investigations with 1 ongoing. Results are still ongoing. They have not been founded yet as the investigation is still taking place. All the investigations, 1 has been founded and 13 have been unfounded. Since the last LSC, 1 investigation has taken place, and that's the investigation that is ongoing right now. And there's our reminders of our goals. We're focused on restorative practices for SY 26. Focusing on the restorative justice that lens. Mr. Trad actually did attend a workshop on February 25th to continue building his capacity as climate and culture coordinator. He attended the restorative justice community of practice. So this is a professional development that brings all RJCs across the district together, as well as deans and culture and climate coordinators. This is a focus session. Was to focus on the opening week for SY 26-27. We did actually meet with some individuals from this office to, you know, really start already pre-planning for week 0 to really like bring the goals that we have set for the next school year into fruition already. Also professional development, February 25th, same date, from reactively to re-regulated tools to calm, connect, and co-regulated. Again, a session on the regulation for students, for colleagues to engage in. Part C2, reinforce positive systems. So we did have our 3rd quarter Panther Roar again on Friday. So we had, congratulations to our school winners. We engaged in a rock, paper, scissors challenge. And so kindergarten to 2nd grade, recognition to Nico in room 128, 3rd to 5th grade, Alexander 204, 6th to 8th grade, August in room 309. On March 4th, we will have our student of the month as well. Look at all our wonderful Students, again, we wanted to celebrate, the students who take, that go above and beyond, that show kindness, that work hard, make positive choices, and represent what it means to be a Peirce Panther. Student Voice Committee, together in conjunction with myself, the Student Voice Committee has held its monthly meetings on March 9th, but also in February 16th, I believe. And then actually going back to the report, I actually bullet pointed some of the items already, and I also shared the agendas. We actually had the last one this past Monday. So among the items that we would discuss, we went over the fall Cultivate data with our Student Voice Committee. So again, that's the data, the Cultivate is the survey that students themselves took. And it showed the results of the learning conditions. So it measures the learning experience from students on a daily basis. The Student Voice Experience survey did go out, and we'll be discussing that in the next meeting. And, we're bringing that connection to the CIWP as well, and we will continue giving those CIWP updates to Student Voice Committee and gathering feedback from them as well, from all the affinity groups. Lunchroom expectations were created as well, as you will see a draft version here. They're very quick and very efficient, they were on it. So we're getting stakeholder feedback too from our coaches as well to gather, those lunchroom expectations. Again, I'm very proud of our Student Voice Committee, of the initiative that they're taking, shout out to Cece as well, the initiative she's taking as well to really gather that student feedback piece as well, to ensure that there's equal voice being represented all across grade levels. And then amongst other things that we talked about was fifth grade seating, potentially opening up, to having that seating that just like sixth and eighth grade. So that's still a discussion that we're having. Part of it, we were thinking about seeing if they can follow lunchroom expectations, because I think among some of the topics that came up are fifth grade students at a level of maturity where they can, be able to sit independently like their middle school peers. So, if they demonstrate that, we're more than open to explore that option as well. And academic differentiation was also brought up, acceleration and adjusting to meet student needs and student autonomy. So again, that's something we're tying in also to our CIWP. We want to get that stakeholder feedback to see what is happening in real time in the classrooms and to see what we can do to improve those areas. Lunchroom expectations, we already reviewed that, and like I said, the survey was sent out. Safety drill updates. So safety notification, on the afternoon of March 6th around 12:55, our fire alarm malfunctioned at the pre-K branch. It literally went off for 15 seconds. But being the responsible adults they are, they evacuated. I immediately rushed over there. I was there within minutes. And, we were given the all clear. We called safety and security, all the necessary individuals that we need to contact. And it was given the all clear. There was no indicator of, any fires or anything. So, we did have a malfunction back in December, which was much worse, which the alarm would not stop going off. So that is a work order that's already pending, especially ensuring that those alarms are aligned to CFD. So I'm really pushing that with them to make sure that is taken care of immediately. And parents were also contacted to inform them of what occurred. It did occur during the school day, so before the school day ended, we did reach out to parents. Security camera updates. I'm happy to report that they funded the rest of the camera project. So I wanted to cry when I saw that, because I was like, oh my goodness, that made my Saturday. So because I was pushing them please can you give me an update? So we invested $20,000, part of it. They gave the rest of the $25,000. The cameras have already been installed. So right now we're working on the software updates to insert the links up. So I'm very happy to report that has been completed. Having said that, I still think we need more cameras, especially outside of it. So I'm not trying to push it with it, I'm gonna push my luck. So especially in reference to what happened with the incident that occurred, one of the staff members in the alleyway, I think in that side, I'm really targeting for additional cameras to be installed in those areas. And we're gonna continue exploring that. But as far as internally, into interior, all the cameras, all the 13 cameras were installed. Gates, we're still awaiting those final quotes. I keep pushing them, like, this has been an ongoing discussion since November. So I may reach out, talk to the alderwoman about this, and I can see if we can get some support on her hand, because, those gates are important to have on Gregory Street, and I'm still waiting to get their inquiry about the gates tier 2 by the dumpster area to like seal off that area. So that way kids can come in a safe manner to the school building. The brick pathway, so all the loose bricks were removed. I helped in that. I was doing masonry at one point, this was a couple weeks ago, because kids were removing the bricks and playing with them.
Yeah.
So I said enough is enough. The sawhorse didn't work, and the cover didn't work. Brian, get your truck. I don't care how long it takes us. We're taking any of the loose bricks off. But they did report that the project is to be happening in the next few weeks, potentially spring break if weather permits. Like, a lot of it depends on the weather too. Because if the weather conditions are not, conducive for the project, they can't do it. So, but again, I kept stressing to them, this is a safety concern, because I don't want anyone getting hurt, even if it wasn't intentional. Like, I just want to make sure that the kids are making wise choices. The LSC candidate forum was held on Thursday, February 26th. Like I mentioned it previously, in the school auditorium. Candidates shared their candidate statements and answered any questions for audience members. So on Wednesday, March 18th is the actual election from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I drafted some of some stuff here, some important points here, like the times and location, the examples of acceptable ID. Just to clarify, in terms of proof that you're a parent here, there will be an alphabet list that the judges will be using to verify. They'll just cross-check your name with the IDs that you provide with the alpha list, because that was one question that was brought up during the coffee with the principal. How do you verify that you're a parent at Peirce? So through the alpha list, we verify the student's name with the point of contact on the alpha list. And proof of citizenship is not required to vote for the election as well. Moving on to SY 25-26 attendance. Our current attendance rate is at 93.89, so it's pretty similar. It's like 0.04 less from the last time. So it was like 93.94 last time, I believe. So it's pretty still like in that same area. I did break it up more by demographics. So you'll see there different ethnicity groups and their student rates and the number of students. So this is collected from our dashboard database, and it shows there the different categories and the attendance rates per those ethnic groups, as well as the number of students on the right-hand side. And then below, you'll see the categories like IEP and ELs are another category within dashboard that show the attendance rate and the number of students that are featured in that as well. And below that, you'll see the student attendance rate by month. So on the far left-hand side, you'll see where we are for March. So take into account where we're up to date at this point. So like for this week, for example, when I collected this data, it was 90.83, but it was only reflecting one day this week because the data had not been released for Tuesday yet, or Wednesday. And last week, for example, for the months for the first few days in March, it was 93.8. If we're looking at the month in total, look at the right-hand side. So there you'll see the last 3 years of attendance data per every month. So for February 25-26, 93.68%, it was the average we finished with. Compared to the year before, last year, it was 90.79%. So there was actually an increase of attendance from last year at that point, at the end of February, to this year. And right now, in March, we're currently, based on the days that we've attended, at 92.72%, still a little bit higher than last year's and the year before that as well. Domain 4, talent and hiring updates. So I sent this out to in the SMORE too. after years of dedicated service to the Peirce community, Ms. Hernandez, our PYP Spanish teacher, decided to transition into a new professional position. Her final day with us was Friday, February 20th. We're excited to see her leave. We're excited for her new journey as she begins a new chapter. We thank her for her hard work. In the temporary leave, we placed one of our cadre subs, Ms. Gabriela Gonzalez, and to step into the role. We're currently actively looking for a PYP Spanish teacher. It's been a little slow because there's not many applications right now because of the time of the year that it is. The open transfer window is not open right now. And even if we were to hire someone in the open transfer window, they would not start until the next year, per the agreement done with CPU. If it was a new staff, like, let's say someone out of college, for example, obviously there's a lot of candidates right now that are finishing their coursework right now. We would still have to wait for their certification to go through to be able to hire someone with that, with that capacity and everything. So right now we're monitoring it, but we have, with Ms. Gonzalez, we've been able to offer her the supports to keep, to ensure that the PYP Spanish group is working, functionally. Principal AP professional learning updates. So tomorrow we're attending our monthly principal AP meeting. That will take place tomorrow. I attended a new Principal Institute on March 2nd, hosted by the Department of Principal Quality. The deck is linked there. Didn't want to print that because that was a lot more slides than I anticipated for that one. I also actually attended yesterday an IA course. So administrators are required to complete coursework on a yearly basis. So I actually, through my mentor, discovered the workshop on crisis leadership. So I thought that's something that, I was really, wanted to learn more about. It was a very productive workshop. It was hosted by the Chicago Public Education Fund. So I got to take a little field trip downtown. Parking was not fun, but I got there. So, and I'm also attending FY27 EPM budget planning, prep, and virtual training on March 17th. So to prepare myself, especially being a new principal, I've already attended budget 101 and 102 trainings. So this is now the extension of full budget, in anticipation for the budget release, which I do not have a date of yet. So, but again, they're prepping principals if they need a refresher, or if you're a new principal, to equip yourself ready for when the budgets do get released. I did also want to note that, and this kind of ties into the attendance piece. I did visit Cesar Chavez Academy too on Monday, and met with their principal along with my mentor. He invited me to. We wanted to visit to their school to see their attendance practices because they have a good reputation of having high attendance, over 96%. So we wanted to see their attendance practices and see what we can bring back, and very cooperative, yeah, whatever you guys need, hey, we're willing to share, just as a way to see what best practices they're applying for their attendance. I mean, obviously their demographics are different from ours, a lot more, challenging, the issues that they have to deal with. But even in the face of that, it's very impressive how they've continue with such a high attendance rate throughout these past few years. There was actually an op-ed that Principal Dessinger was a part of as well. So we really wanted to pick his brain, and we saw it in action. They did a lot. They did home visits. They call immediately after the bell rung. Kids were there 10 minutes into the school day. They had a system going. They dedicate that first hour to training. Hey, are you okay? What's going on? You coming to school? They want to make sure kids are in the building and safe. So a big shout out to them. And I'm gonna be working with my mentor to see how we can partner up as schools. My mentor is a principal at Disney, and we'll partner up to see how we can build on that as well in partnership. And finally, reach scheduling. So schedules continue to be updated as needed. We're on track to complete all reach observations by May 15th. And
All right. Thank you very much. Get some water there. 56 minutes.
this is my 8th meeting today. And I apologize if my voice is breaking because like,
Okay, so you mentioned that we're getting extra state funding because we're technically a targeted school and that
Correct.
funding is attached to the specific reason we're targeted, which is because of a drop in multilingual schools.
I believe it was, yeah, ELs was a targeted area, so we have to evaluate in which content areas or as a school-wide, like, how are we going to address it? Are we going to adopt resources for multilingual learners? Professional development opportunities might be another. So they gave us a list of what we can and cannot do.
Okay, that's what kind of I was wondering, how are you gonna go about making that decision? Do you have a committee? Or are you bringing?
My goal is to form a committee for that. So right now, part one for me is creating, getting that training first. I wanna make sure that, I capitalize on that, that's, I'm gonna meet with my chief and my mentor about that as well.
Yeah.
What best practices to approach it. I do wanna create a budget committee and inviting any LSC members that would like to be a part of it to, prepare for that. And I mean, I'm preparing for a lot of eventualities too, just also to mention, I've already shared with teachers, any budget requests that they have, please share it now because end of year spending is coming. I don't know when, we don't know the date of that, but when it comes, they shut off the system. So we can't spend any more money. So we have to deplete our 115 funds by a certain date before the end of the school year. They don't do it till the last day of school. They always do it about a month before school ends. So that's why I'm telling teachers, share with us your budget requests so that way we can use those funds. With the ISB funds, we have until June 30th.
Okay.
So that we do have some leeway there, but we have to use them before June 30th.
What's ISB?
Illinois State Board of Education. So I am gonna be sending some information out about budget committee to the LC members if anyone is interested in being part of those discussions. Any other questions?
It's not related to that one, but, can you remind us, where are the cameras installed at?
So I gave the specifications in
The blueprint?
2-3 meetings ago.
Yeah.
So we were targeting areas where there's high volumes of traffic. And this was also based on the recommendations given back in December. So obviously, for example, we didn't want it to be too intrusive too. So we didn't put the cameras right in front of the bathrooms, for example. Another thing we had to be mindful of too was the wiring reports, the capacity, because if it wasn't available, that increases the cost of the project. So they did about 3 to 4 visits before they even started working to get the measurements and to see if they have the wireless capacity to be able to do it. Because if that's already installed, it makes it easier to just install the camera. Hallways are it's mostly hallways. So I can give an example here, here in the main hallway, you'll see that camera right there.
Yeah.
That's one of the cameras. And then the other one would be by the swipe machine for teachers.
Okay.
So we wanted to keep an eye out with teachers coming in, just as a security measure too, if you're coming in or, if you're leaving late too, just to make sure that we have that available for them. So it's all throughout the hallways. No cameras are in the classrooms or anything of that nature. The only other camera would be in the cafeteria area. So again, for any events that we're holding, because it's a multi-purpose room. So we have them there as well, and as well as in the auditorium. So we did install a camera in the auditorium because there was no camera there previously either.
Yes, sorry, that's me.
Any other questions?
Okay, so on the CIWP overview, you said you're at this point where it's student-centered problems, root actions, and theories of actions, where you're kind of figuring out with some precision what the challenges are and trying to clarify those. Can you share kind of any insight that the CIWP committee has found or identified or has decided, oh, we see some real clarity on something that's.
So right now we're finalizing a lot of it because we're looking at the different areas based on the data we identified. So for example, like for effective instruction,
Yeah.
it's really like looking at what does our reading and mathematics scores look like? Where the growth goes look. We're looking at the demographics. We're looking at the different areas like multilingual learners. You know, we identified some gaps there too, but I think right now the way it's trending is we're identifying, you know, to target all groups, but really like zeroing in on those, like if we see like gaps in certain groups, like that, like, you know, there was like a lack of growth, not just 1 year, but over the years, we want to target it. And that's why I wanted like to do those updates, you know, that's where with the Peirce parent organizations, all the committees, to share that data. So like, once we have that finalized by this Friday, that we can give a more update, like, you know, this is the reflections of foundations, the scoring that we did. This is what was decided. Here is our theory of action. So that way we get that feedback before we go into the implementation plan. Because we're not gonna work on the implementation plan until after spring break. So that's why we want to capitalize on getting more feedback and then suggestions from all stakeholders, you know, to ensure equity of voice, you know, for the Peirce Pride River, from our equity committee as well. We want to make sure, and that's why we also invited the student too, to the table too, you know, considering, you know, that with, again, being respectful of CC, you know, wanting to not take it away from student work, but then we also have that avenue open with student voice committee now, where we have the affinity groups with BSU, with GSA, so we have multiple representation. So like we're going beyond what the district is asking, like, which I don't mind, because the more feedback we get, the better, to really build a robust CIWP.
Any other questions? I think sort of related to the CIWP, I think some of the priorities had measurable or they had goals that needed to be achieved by, you know, whether it was middle of the year, end of the year, beginning of the year. I think that's why you say you're going to be able to share that with us next
Yes,
meeting.
because the quarterly progress monitoring window just opened this week.
Okay.
So that we have to meet between now, it's April 3rd or 9th? I think it's the 3rd.
I think you wrote.
I think I wrote it
Remember
down here.
Fridays.
I'm pretty sure it was 3rd, yeah. That we had to meet as the current, not the team that's created CIWP, the past CIWP team has to meet to go over the progress monitoring goals to see where we're at with our current CIWP. But then with the suggestion, or I mean, what we're gonna do with the current team, like the team creating the CIWP, is to share with all the stakeholders our progress, where we're at, the priorities that were determined and how they were determined, and the root causes that were identified, as well as the theory of action that was developed.
Got it. And so in terms of behavior incident, like, it looks like if we take a look at the 2 school years between last school year and this school year, over the same week of 26, we went from 76 incidents year to date to 38 year to date. I'm trying to understand how that compares to the first page where we have it broken down by demographic categories, that it's more than 38. Am I looking at something wrong? This says white 21, black 13, Hispanic 7.
So my understanding, it depends on the type of incident, because if it wasn't a major infraction, we go by the infraction, level of infraction.
Got it.
So like, for those incidents, you know, they show the number of by group. So depending on what was put, like, so if an incident was put, like, in a group number, it would record that under the behavior incident.
Got it.
But if it was more like, you know, something more of minor infraction, that may not be recorded on the database, the dashboard. But this is broken down again to really like show what is being done year to date with the different behaviors and the demographics.
Great. Thank you.
And I do want to mention one other thing too here, if you look at the number of incidents too. So it may not match there as well, but it's also depending on what the consequence is.
That's right.
So it's not so much the incident, the numbers right there, it's the consequence.
Nicole?
Yeah, thank you for that thorough presentation. I see a lot of investments being made, and I just want to commend you for not shying away from making these investments in our school and trying to make, this tight budget work to solve a lot of our problems. A lot of these issues have been long-standing issues that, we're tackling here in this presentation. We know Bear Down on Bullies costs money, Playworks, the math curriculum, that's a big one. So appreciate you not just being like, oh, we can't afford a new math curriculum, but actually exploring that possibility and advocating for, potentially a big investment there. So.
And I think a couple of things too, like, because I'm gonna be honest, it's gonna be tight.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tight. I mean, I don't know what the budget, I mean, it'll all depend on the budget. I mean, I'm praying like the sooner the budget comes out, that's a healthy sign. The later the budget comes out, that's not a good sign. So that's been, in my experience in CPS, that's been like, how we measure the state of affairs, across the district. With all the, considerations, obviously we have to bear in mind, students come first, academics come first too, like math, for example, that's gonna be a big investment. So we have to be very purposeful and tact, and make the decision, without, breaking the bank too as well, because there are other things that we have to consider. One thing I'm considering too is leaning on the FOP too with some of the initiatives, like, for example, with Playworks, that could be something that I can actually, approach them with, that would help alleviate some of the budget, with what I want to do, because I mean, obviously we have to decide as a body if we're gonna do Playworks or not, that would be my desire to have something structured. And I know I've been hearing a lot from a lot of stakeholders in the school that they really loved it. So that's something that I would like to invest in for the school if it's gonna be something positive. But having said that, we have to be mindful of the budget constraints as well too. So, other things that I'm looking at already too is like, updating our website too. Like, that's something, I wanna modernize too, the school in many different ways, but that costs money too. And I found one vendor too that also provides SMS messaging opportunities, like to be able to, another form of communication to reach out to parents, should anything occur, like or school closing or anything of that nature. I'm looking at ways to maximize those opportunities to build our communication skills and also modernize our school.
Thank you for that. Yeah, SMS would be huge. And congrats on getting 25K from CPS. That's unheard of. We all know. That's amazing. This doesn't have to be answered right now, but I'd love to kind of hear the story of why we think we went from like 76 incidents to 38. Like what should we be reading into kind of those numbers? And that's kind of one question I had. And then also for the bullying, I know we had a great presentation that kind of gave us a sense of what to expect, like when there is a founded bullying incident, but I think there's still a lot of unclarity about like when bullying is unfounded, like seeing this number 13, like a big question mark I have is like, okay, well, what actions are being taken on those incidents? So it'd be good to get more information on that.
So I can answer some of that.
Okay.
When it comes to bullying investigation,
Yeah.
so whether you're the person being accused or the person, that's the victim, a letter is sent out to parents, that, we've received this report, we have a total of 10 school days to investigate the matter. And then after 10 school days, a determination, an outcome letter needs to be sent to the respondent. And based on that, it'll say what courses of action, not necessarily on the respondent letter, because that goes more, to the discussion of the person being accused. Like, let's say it's founded, for example, then that will be discussed with the parents of the child being accused of bullying if it's founded. But even if bullying accusations are unfounded, that doesn't mean that nothing's done.
Mm-hmm.
We recognize that something did occur, but it doesn't meet the criteria per CPS of bullying. It has to, for bullying to be founded, it has to meet the 4 criteria.
Right.
So with that being said, even though the criteria may not be met in some cases, that doesn't mean that nothing's done.
Mm-hmm.
We still take course of action, whether that looks like a safety plan, whether that looks like, a restorative circle with those individuals, depending again on the level of infraction that occurred. So we have to base it off on a situation, like if it's a big safety concern, then that's definitely it's granted for a safety plan. My rule of thumb has always been, like, if it's a safety concern, do the safety plan, even if it's unfounded. It doesn't matter, we have to take the necessary steps to ensure student safety.
Okay, I don't know if that's a level of detail that you could share with all of us, but like, it just appears like 13 unfounded means like, okay, it's done, so it'd be interesting to be like, okay, there were 5 safety plans that came out of this, or circles or something like that.
For confidentiality, though,
You can't say
because
it.
those are more
Yeah.
for the person that's given to the
Yeah,
parents of those or the individuals involved.
right,
So out of respect to them, like I cannot share that information
okay,
because that's again,
Right.
information for their eyes only and discuss with them, with any of the stakeholders. The only other stakeholders that information is shared with is obviously teachers and staff members. Because for example, if the safety plan goes into effect, teachers need to be aware of this, or recess coaches need to be aware of what's happening, so-and-so cannot be with a student or cannot sit with a student, for example.
Mhm.
Just to give you some, as an example.
Yeah. Well, it's helpful to know just these tools that are there and kind of what parents can expect when it's not bullying, but there's other.
Right,
things,
but what's
Yeah.
the general outcome, what is,
Yeah.
it's a valid question.
Mhm.
It is a very valid question.
Nicole, yes, while you're on that subject, have you had a chance to review, and I'm not suggesting that you micromanage your employees, but what I mean is, have you had a chance to review the processes of how those bullying allegations are being handled? Because the LSC has kind of brought a lot of noise around this, especially last year, where we felt like there was not, the way it was handled, some of these allegations were not completely, the process was not completely transparent with the parent of both the victim and and the communication was nowhere near the amount of, the level that it's supposed to be when something like this happened. So have you had a chance to firsthand kind of review a case and see?
I mean, I'm in the loop of all the cases
Okay.
because I receive when there's an allegation made by default,
Okay.
I receive the information and I make sure that those individuals that are in charge of overseeing those investigations are doing their job. So for example, obviously we also ask for transparency for parents too, if something does come up or even students, that way we can catch it early on and try to do the proper investigation. So I know Mr. Trad, he keeps me very well informed. Hey, this came up, I'm just letting you know, and it triggers an immediate investigation because on Aspen, you can trigger it. So it automatically triggers, if it's bullying, it triggers and it goes down to administration and says there has been a bullying-based investigation that's open and it gives us the criteria. You have this amount of days, 10 days to investigate it. Please share the letters that you've received, the complaint. And, once you've conducted your investigation, please make updates on Aspen. So it's a nice thing that administrators are informed of that. Even though we have other designees, so myself, Mr. Lee, Ms. Bakulis, Mr. Trad, we're all designees of that as well,
Yeah.
and Ms. Fonte as well.
Any other questions? So to kind of dovetail off of the budget, last year, CPS was expected to release or share budgets with principals on May 15th. They did that about 2 or 3 days later, and we had a special meeting on June 3rd. It ended up being June 5th, actually. So we had a pretty tight turnaround to kind of get through those terms for that. I don't expect it to be any different this year. It's been like this every time.
That's why I want to get ahead of it. So that's why I'm going to be sending information about. I don't want to wait. I want to make sure we're ahead and ready for what's to come.
All right. Any other questions? All right, we can move on to the budget, internal accounts and transfer funds. I see that you provided, again, the reconciliation, thank you for that, and then 4 line items there. Put them for vote. We don't need to read all the numbers. Let's not learn that lesson. That's all right. So we can, just kind of include them by reference, and we'll have the link to the principal's report in the drive so that people can take a look at that. There are essentially 4 line items here. And so if you want to go over that real quick and then.
Sure, the first one in the amount of 5,000 is to increase the bucket number 686920 in order to continue funding Alan and Margot who help out with student records in the office.
Just a second.
Sorry, can you say it one more time? I missed all of that.
So the,
Never mind, I got you.
oh, there you go. That's why we're not. I think I shared the spreadsheet with you too.
You did, it's in there.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
It's in
No, but I mean, you have, like, I have the actual one, so you have access if you want to copy and paste too. That's a quicker way to do it.
By the time I find it, yeah.
So it's a
Okay,
motion
sorry.
to transfer 5,000 for office employees.
Okay.
There, we got a second from Mary. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
The second one for an amount of 10,000 is to create a purchase order for field trips that different grade levels are taking. So all the funds collected from e-pay that have been paid, just transferring over to our budget line for student field trips.
Is it a single PO or do they do like a bunch of field trips and a bunch of POs?
So we have to transfer the monies that were collected in e-pay into the student field trip line to create POs based on the trip. So it's just all the funds that have been already collected, like let's say from February to March, we're transferring those funds over to be able to fund those field trips.
I got it. So that means the second.
All right. Any discussion?
So 10,000.
All in favor? You? Yep. Can I put you abstain? He's walked in there, so it's the second line item there. We got 2 more, so.
The third item in the amount of $2,700 is to create a purchase order for 8th grade cap and gowns.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Thank you.
And the last item is to transfer $10,260 to create a purchase order for the 8th grade Odyssey trip.
It's a field trip?
Yes, on Odyssey.
Oh.
Well, it's a graduation trip.
Yeah, it's graduation.
Cool. Are you gonna be a chaperone?
I never get invited,
We'll have to do something about that.
Great trip.
but I'll second it.
We'll make sure that's recorded.
Oh, yeah.
You guys, you come into this thing because Megan said yes. Any discussion? All in favor? Awesome. Thank you.
And I also just, again, have shared my reconciliation reports as well for internal accounting, just any deposits or any communications that have been made, including the internal account balance sheet, which I'm studying right now to see how much money we have to fund our math curriculum. So, that's my homework.
Important homework.
It is. Excellent. Thank you again. Thank you for all of this. All right, moving on to community group reports. So we did get a quick FOP recap. Mainly it was these leasing agreements and fundraising for fundraising activities. REP, we have a representative from REP here. We did get an online report, but if you so inclined, we can take your comments.
Yes.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
Give me 1 second.
No problem.
So first of all, we're super happy to report that the Lunar New Year Parade was fabulous. Thank you to all the participants, PSO, to FOP, to all the parents that supported, to all the parents and students that came out that day. it's just so wonderful to have a float and to have parent participation and to be one of the few, the schools in the neighborhood that's participating in that great event. And even during the school day, you know, I had my kids come back home and say, we read this book, we worked on this project, we did these things to talk about the Lunar New Year. So I think that integrating all of that together and then having this culminating celebration in the neighborhood and for our community was really fabulous. So thank you, Matthew, for all the reminders leading up to it and for organizing. We wanted to give an update on the Peirce Mutual Aid Fund. We had a number of community members donate to the Mutual Aid Fund this year. We raised $2,775 in September. We calculated from September to January. We dispersed $1,500 in groceries or gift cards around the holiday season, around Thanksgiving and Christmas, which was really helpful to folks who are really in need. And we distributed $3,500 in direct aid to families that needed those funds. And it's just a really great opportunity for the community to be there for one another, to support one another, and to be able to provide this service for families and community members who greatly need it. And so now we're running a second request for folks to continue donating to the fund and just continue this like wonderful community support system. We created an LSC primer for folks, so if you check out the REP website, you'll see it up there. We reached out to LSC parent candidates who are running. We had heard from community members that it's been hard to attend some of the forums, some of the meet and greets. The audio was not that great for the LSC forum, and so we thought this was a great way to put together resources for folks to know who is running, what their views on equity are, and then also to give detailed information about the voting information, where to go, how to vote, what IDs to bring, all that stuff that you normally wouldn't think of that you'd have to look up is on this primer now. So we're distributing it to folks at pick up and drop off, letting folks know that information, and also letting them know that they can vote at the SEN LSC as well, and continue that great partnership between Peirce and SEN. And then finally, we just wanted to let folks know about our next community meetings. We host one community meeting a month. We alternate between in-person and Zoom. The next one is March 31st on Zoom, then April 28th in person, and the third one will be May 26th on Zoom.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have PSO. Again, don't need to put you on the spot, but. if you
Yeah,
wanna
Sonia
share.
does way better than me, her written one, so I'm gonna let her speak for me.
I'm sorry, who?
Sonia Henriquez.
Oh,
She writes up our.
got it.
So.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, again. It will be included by reference, no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
Thank you. I didn't get anything from PPC or the Learning for Diverse Learners and Students with Disabilities. We do have a scheduled meeting for all the parent groups in the next week or so. I think it's the 19th.
Friday.
It's this Friday, yes, yeah, that's right. A couple of days to kind of have
Could you remind,
additional updates.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
remind me about the PPLC, how many folks are on it?
Well, that's next.
Oh, that's,
PPLC?
Yeah, that's next.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. So we're done with community reports. Number one, PPLC, on the spot.
I mean, I don't really have anything to share because it was shared in the
That's
principal
fine. Yeah,
report. The big chunk of it was just the math curriculum and following up the next steps, that teachers have manipulatives and curriculums from all three to begin just pulling and using things now. So then hopefully a decision will be made in April, and then sharing teachers that have done site visits where different curriculums have been implemented, sharing that stuff at grade levels and whatnot.
So math curriculum, the
Yes.
entire school.
Not sure.
that's gonna be also depending on the costs
Yeah.
too.
So
And
can you
what
like
middle
select
school?
different grades that you want the math curriculum to be put in?
So if we're gonna adopt math curriculum, it can't be by grade level, like it would have to be like throughout, like as a whole, like the other option too for math, like for example, 6 to 8, like compacted math is considered high quality curriculum too. So that's one of the options on the table too, remaining 6 and 8 remains with the compacted math curriculum. And, you know, again, depending on the cost, because we're anticipating it's gonna be very pricey. Like, and so what I asked Ms. Leibovitz to do was give me a comparison of if we adopted, let's say, from K to 5, what the cost would look like right now, and see the comparison of if we would adopt from K to 8. But again, we're giving teachers 6th or 8th grade also the autonomy to review and to look at the math curriculum, and again, so it's gonna be a decision that we have to make, you know, to see if that's the best path forward.
Any preliminary thoughts on those math curriculums, like the new ones that if you've had the chance to look at them, or is there anything?
I mean, in all honesty, I look, but I don't teach math, so I'm leaving it to the experts.
Got it.
So I think there's just, everybody's open to just exploring right now and
Sure.
What I've
trying the different
heard,
ones.
there seems to be a preference for Eureka.
Squared,
Yeah.
for those, yeah, at least for non-MYP. MYP, it's still disgusting.
Because they're looking at various factors too, like, you know, how culturally relevant is it, you know, how rigorous is it? I mean, they're all qualified as high quality curriculums, but we're looking at all those factors, how it can support diverse learners, how it's gonna support EL learners as well.
Got it.
So there's multiple choices and then there's multiple options for which grades.
So there's 3 curriculum choice, like, that we're exploring, so that
Like-
are being in-depthly explored, and then teachers that teach math are thinking, like, based on the students they have, who they've had, what would work best. So
Yeah.
there's more continuity as we go through. And MYP has had that, and probably more so because we're departmental.
Could you just remind us, like, how many people are on the PPLC? How is it different from the IST? It's just something I've been,
ILT.
So ILT is
sorry, yeah,
principal driven,
okay.
PPLC is teacher driven. So teacher LSC representatives were the chair and co-chair. And then teachers voted for other teachers that were nominated in the fall.
And so how many teachers are on it? So
Let me write down everybody's name and then I can tell you.
And you said they're elected?
Yes. 6.
Okay. And, can you share who's on the PPLC?
I mean, I think I have before, but yeah, so, Bridget 9,
Okay,
Miss Wagner, 3rd grade, Miss Gibson, 1st grade, Miss Burrows, 8th grade, and Miss Harvey, 6th grade.
Yeah, by default, the teacher representatives on the LSC are part of it.
that's what part I knew. And then how many of those teachers are math teachers? Pretty much all of them? Is
2, 3.
Okay.
But we're just, like, the PPLC, we have, our part of our role is around curriculum and budgeting.
So they help
That's
mitigate,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that reminder.
Very good, thank you. No updates on back. Again, as I receive those, we'll include them by reference. Equity committee?
I can give a brief update. So, as Principal Avila said, we had a great forum, that Jess put together, in partnership with the administration, and a bunch of us got to experience, the restorative circles, and we had, a few participants who were staff in the building, which was great too. So it was a combination of like staff and parents, and it went really well. So thanks to Jess and everybody who was part of putting on that event. The next forum we've got coming up is Palestinian Chicago. That's April 16th. It's a Thursday. That's going to be a family-friendly event. It's the first equity forum that is like geared towards the whole family, not just like geared towards parents with childcare provided. At one point, this was the 15th, so it has moved to the 16th. So we'll get that in backpack mail. There's a flyer that'll be more in a backpack mail soon. A few highlights, just to give you a sneak preview. So we're gonna open the doors at 5, and then 5 to 5:30, just have like mingling and snacks. So we're gonna be bringing in some food from Nabala Cafe, which is a Palestinian-owned cafe in Uptown. We're gonna have the owner of Nabala Cafe there as well. And then there's 2 activities during the forum. The first one is with SEND students. They're gonna come in from the Asian American student. I'm looking at my fellow equity committee members. It's like the Asian student group at SEN is gonna come in and do a writing workshop and an art workshop that they did at SEN actually. They adopted it for high school students, but it was actually originally for elementary school students. And it is about like food and like Palestinian culture. So they're gonna be hosting and facilitating that workshop for our kids and families. And then they're gonna stick around for the second part, which is gonna be a Dabka dance lesson. So the SEN students will be there. We're bringing in a dance instructor, and it'll be like a 30-minute dance lesson, dance party at the end. And we are gonna have Gabby or one of her team members come in for live translation in Spanish. And what else? I think that's everything. So we meet monthly in the field house. Everyone's welcome. Those are open meetings. And we're always taking new members like on a rolling basis. So come join us. Yeah, I think that's it.
Next one is principal evaluation. So at the during the regular cycle, this is kind of like the second evaluation that typically occurs. Because this was a little bit of a new thing, we have a new principal. Principals have to be in service or at the school for 4 months before we are able to do a formal evaluation. And what I mean by formal is just the proper advertising, collecting the feedback, reporting on it, and then filling out the principal evaluation portal. Because the 4 months will be April 4th, and the due date for these evaluations is May 1st. We're in a little bit of a time crunch. So I checked with the Department of Principal Quality, and essentially that's kind of how they laid it out. The alternative, unless, in lieu of doing a full-fledged evaluation, is to do what they call an informal check-in. Not exactly sure what that entails, but essentially that would, again, be in lieu of doing the full force evaluation. So I share with the members here those the news or these items, and I asked what people's opinions were in terms of what we thought would make sense in terms of an evaluation. I did hear from a couple of you one way or the other, so I just wanted to kind of quickly open it up, like the brief discussion if folks feel one way or the other. Again, if we want to go to do complete the full evaluation, we need to review the survey that's going to go out, send it out, collect the results, synthesize them, and probably we'll need to have a special meeting to kind of review this in closed session. Not that we don't want to do the work, but in terms of, giving Luis some pointers, but at the same time, not running into a situation where all those rubrics are going to be like, I didn't have time to observe it, or I didn't have sufficient data to give you an opinion, and you're just going to be looking at something that's not thoroughly, as thorough as possible. So, wanted to hear, what folks have in mind or what their thoughts are, and figure out next steps.
Yeah, I read through it, and I think it makes sense that the time frame is too short to do an effective formal evaluation. You said it, there's a lot of steps, and everything would be rushed, and you can't really answer half of the questions if you haven't spent a whole cycle. So I'm absolutely in favor of not doing a formal one this season.
Who decides, Matthew? Is this like at the discretion of the chair?
No, all of us.
We have to vote?
We don't need to vote. If we decide not to do it, it's just a reporting to Department of Principal Quality that we're not going to do that. And they're already aware because of the fact that the employment, they're aware of Luis's employment. So we're not going to be penalized in the principal evaluation portal for not having a rubric or scoring in there. As in lieu of that, having that informal check-in would be an appropriate alternative as far as they're concerned. So if that's what we decide to do, the next step will be to get a formal description of what that entails, right? From them, and then go, moving forward with that. But as far as we're concerned, we're not going to be penalized for not having, fulfill our duty of, completing the evaluation by May 1st.
Yeah, let's just put that on the agenda is next month, let's get a report on what the informal review is.
So prior to our meeting, I'll make sure and share this information. That's a missing piece of information that I needed.
There's still some value in it, but the full on is just, I don't think it's effective for a short period.
Is there a set format for that informal, or is whatever?
So that's what I'm gonna find out.
Or is there...
I'm gonna ask them what they, what we can, if there's something, because there needs to be some kind of documentation, proof that check-in did in fact take place in lieu of the filling out the PEP, the portal.
Because my thoughts were right away, like creating some sort of maybe like a questionnaire that can go out in a sense of like 90 days in, whatever the time has been, and form the questions around 90 days of operation versus, as you said, the full.
For sure, yeah, so, I'll get more info from them. As soon as I get it out, forwarded, and then we can kind of figure out the next plan of action by next meeting. I think it shouldn't take much time.
Yeah, if we can get clarity on like who's the decision maker, because it sounds like if we aren't required to vote on it, that you are, if you're asking our opinion informally. But it's like, are we deciding as an LSC or is the chair deciding like who's actually the decision maker?
No, so by next meeting,
Yeah,
if there needs to be a vote, it will be by that time. That's my plan. It's not gonna be.
We need to know like what the policy is, I guess, like who decides which of these routes we take,
Mhm.
like who has the authority to.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I can find out. Very good. New business. I put there CIWP updates and recommendations. I don't know if folks want to talk through that. I think, Luis, you had some updates that you provided there in terms of the expiring one and the work that's being done on the new one. But I don't know if folks want to bring.
Yeah, I'll share. I think Lamont was gonna share this, but he couldn't make it in, so I can read a letter. So the equity committee provided a letter to the LSC with some recommendations specifically around the CIP working team. It kind of goes into an explanation of why, but I will just read to keep it short the ask. So the equity committee respectfully recommends that Principal Avila and the LSC consider the following: ensuring that at least one Black staff person and one Black parent serve on the CIWP team, identifying additional opportunities to engage Black students, families, and communities, utilizing the input of Black students, families, and communities to analyze and address the reasons recent strategies have not achieved our goals, centering alignment to the Black Student Success Plan in goals and foci whenever possible. So this gets at the core issue of our opportunity gap between our Black students and our white and Asian students, and setting up our CIWP team for success to be able to address that opportunity gap and to dive into kind of why previous efforts have not addressed it. We've been talking about this for a long time. We've taken steps, but still the numbers are not reflecting the success that we'd like to see. I'll just add kind of my own paraphrasing a little bit to this too, and everybody has the letter and it'll be in the notes. But 3 years ago, when we went through the CIWP process, the LSC was presented with the CIWP that did not address Black student success and did not have anything related to closing that opportunity gap for our Black students. For that reason, I voted no on that CIWP and plan to do that again and present it again with the CIWP that does not address Black student success. So I would encourage other LSC members to do the same. I would encourage the CIWP team to make sure that this is being addressed and hopefully dive into kind of why past strategies have not been as successful as we would have hoped.
So to clarify, I think when, I have to go back and take a look at notes, but we did add on some of the measurable goals for the domains that were selected, whether it was the tiers of support, MTSS or other dimensions. We did have some goals for, that were also by race, ethnicity, and then like whether people were on IEPs and 504s. And I think we had like some mid-year goals, some beginning of year goals, and I think that's what I was hoping we could share. And so, and my recollection is actually that at some point we got to the point where we actually had to move the goalposts a little further because we had already achieved the goals that we were supposed to, or that we had set. Not all of them, but some of them. So I'd be curious. Again, that's another plug in here so that we can get those numbers and do make that part of what you said, the CIWP.
So yeah, that's a good point. And I do want to clarify that the CIWP that we voted on as an LSC did not include those goals. They were added afterwards, after that no vote that some of us took at the LSC.
Right, well, those are to clarify, were those the performance goals?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So like Black students or any other?
Yeah, that was not there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, for clarification, that's, we're looking at that,
Yeah.
like,
Sounds like it.
I mean, obviously from a holistic lens too, like, but also like, we're looking at the gains being made too by all ethnic ethnicity groups, like Black students, Hispanic students, like, we're trying to look at it from all across, to ensure equity all across everything. But, we are looking at the Black students, especially, in the gains that they're making too, especially with the most up-to-date data too, with, to see how there's been growth in those areas. But I think, when we're approaching the CIWP, we have to think about student success all across too. So it's like, we have to consider everybody. So, making sure that, we provide the supports and close that opportunity gap for all, it's something that we focus on, but also focusing on those other groups as well, like Black students, multilingual learners, for example, is another example that I can give too. Like, especially, that's for the ISB designation, that's something else that came out too, like, that we need to consider too. So we can have multiple performance goals. We don't have to have just, say we're gonna do it for all. We could have like one for all students, we could have one for multilingual learners, one for Black students. So that's something that, we have that option as a CIWP team to explore. And that's why, we're gonna have the meeting, with all those parent groups to raise that, and share that this is what we have and what suggestions everyone has, as we move through the process of creating the implementation plan. Like, this is what the data's telling us. And, this is what the trends are showing. This is the root causes that we identified and the theory of action that we've developed. So based on that, what should be our next steps, as we're doing the implementation plan based on the data that we present.
Right.
Because it's a lot. Like, I tell you, like, I think our slides are up to like 189 right now. And it's a mixture of data, it's a mixture of all factors and everything that we've been working on and everything. So we want to make sure that, it's clear and coherent when presented to all the stakeholder groups. and adding the addition of Miss Adu to the group, the team, it really addresses, that connectedness and well-being that we identified in our preliminary, once we, identified that connectedness and well-being was rated, as an area of concentration moving forward.
Yeah, appreciate her addition, and you mentioned the BSU outreach, so that's great. So as much as, we can do that additional outreach,
In the parent
to
groups as
other like
well.
Black stakeholders, and then also align, with the Black student success plan specifically too. So those are the things that the equity committee wanted to flag.
And I mean, I have Amelia on the, student voice committee is one of my close friends, and I'd love to gather information from the BSU.
Absolutely.
Want me to do that for?
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. Thank you all. Next item, LSC candidate forum updates. This was just more kind of like a report back. I think we talked about the student forum. We talked about the parents and community forum, and everybody was invited. Anything special with the teachers, non-teaching staff forum? I think it was on the same day, I believe.
Yeah, there were stickers earlier, yeah. Pretty much the same format, except that it was just teacher and non-teaching staff, they gave their candidate statements and, any questions that they had, for candidates.
Any specific questions or anything?
I just want to uplift that we had mini candidate forums, or invited the candidates to the back meeting and to FOP hosted coffee and community meeting. This was the first year that we have done that specific sort of outreach and made the candidates available in that way. And I think those were really successful events. They were well attended. I think, we answered a lot of questions about what the LSC is. The parents got to hear from candidates kind of up close, and also in their preferred language too. So that was really great. So thanks to BAC and FOP for hosting those events. Those were really fantastic. There was a crowd at the FOP one. Yeah.
Next item, field trips, fee donations. Eric, I think you brought that up.
Sorry, sorry, one more thing, for the rep candidate, one pager, can we get that in backpack mail? Is that already planned?
I think it came today.
Okay.
No,
it's part of weekly or not.
Oh, okay.
I saw.
It was just 2 candidates backpack.
Those are from the candidates.
The candidates themselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We're having some for backpack mail. I just didn't know the timeline.
Oh, okay. Is that possible?
I mean, can we just do it through the parent reps or room reps? Is it faster and online, or is printing it? I don't know how that works.
It's a lot of printing.
That's a lot.
We can be in contact with PSO to see if that can happen through the room rep channels.
Yeah, that would probably be a good
When
channel.
they're gonna get it out.
Okay, PSO.
I wonder if the LSC could request that with admin support. So,
I'm just worried about timing, Getting
Yeah,
it
I don't
printed
know.
and getting it out there
Logistics
and
of backpack mail,
making
but
sure,
that'd be great to have it in there if we could. And then I just also wanted to flag that the elementary school and the high school LSC elections have been on different days historically, and now they're on the same day. So that just a reminder to make a plan to vote like you would for any election, and make time to go over to your high school son or wherever it is, whichever high school it is as well, to vote in both elections. All right, that's it.
So last time we were talking about the field trip funding, we had discussed the just administrative differences of taking additional funds through Aspen versus making a request through PSO, and what is the appropriate way to direct someone who wants to make a donation. And I think last time we said the PSO, there isn't a button right on the front page that says I just want to give money, but it's more about the individual fundraisers. Where like right now, the form for field trips says like, I wanna just donate $50 to field trips, and it runs through Aspen, which has its own thing. So I just wanted to bring that back up because it seems like there's an opportunity to direct anyone who wants to donate through a proper fundraising channel versus through a school fees channel. And I don't think it's a settled item yet.
And I think you mean FOP, right?
Yes, sorry.
So the question is, if somebody is willing to donate additional monies for whatever purpose, we specifically mentioned field trips, but if it's anything else, number one, what's the best channel and what are the ways to kind of keep track of that?
Yeah. I mean, right now I can say, hey, there's a field trip next month. I want to put $100 to it, and then the teacher says, goes to the office and says, put $100 on Eric's account. Then it goes through Aspen, and then it sits for 30 days, and then it goes into the process of paying for a PO versus the opposite is the school pays for it and then asks for Friends of Peirce funding. And I know that there's different financial reporting tools for that, and there's different rules about it. And I just want to make sure we're doing the process that's the most effective.
So I can ask FOP, like what, if we can have like a sort of like what the steps would be if we were to go that route. I don't know the Aspen, the 30-day thing that you just mentioned is news to me. I don't know what that
What that means basically, so let's say, for example, every 30 days, funds drop. So let's say you donate the money like the 1st of April, right? You won't see those funds until 30 days.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but like I said, like, so to bring up like an actual example, I think CC brought that up. If a student is looking for that kind of support, and we have somebody lined up to be able to help them, and the field trip is, happens to be within the next, a more confined time period, is just, do we want to kind of go with the 30 days, understanding that, there are administrative delays and whatnot, and so would a reasonable alternative be to go through FOP to make it a little bit faster? I don't know,
And that's a good question
I can
to ask them, because then if they give us the funds, it goes into our internal accounts and we make obviously we can still like do the transfer, obviously, when, when the money is necessary needed, but it will still need LSC approval. Like, for example, the items that I shared, like, it'll still, all budget transfers from internal accounting into budget lines still require LSC approvals.
I think the paper that you created where people could donate more, like, I think that's great, and we had just talked about like being able to write in the number, so it sounds like maybe that's there now, like that people can write in how much they wanna add, so it doesn't have to be like a
Because then
extra
Sally
back and
and
forth,
Lynn,
yeah.
they receive it and they'll add it, into the account.
They just like know right away, and there's less back and forth, and so, I mean, I think that's
More direct,
great, I
yeah.
think this is like a yes and situation, and
But-
let's do all the,
To everyone's
let's
point,
fundraise all the ways.
FOP too, I think that's another avenue too, so I mean, it's not bad to have multiple avenues too.
Yeah.
I think, that's something worth exploring.
Are the field trip forms or any forms, are you allowed to write a note saying you can donate through Friends of Peirce? Or is that like not even allowed to be put on an official school form?
Yeah, probably, it would have to go to, I don't think, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's
It's a
not
separate
it's a separate
organization.
organization.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're supporting the school, but no, you can't do that,
You
yeah.
can't put it on the school.
We can only do Aspen, it's our Aspen based one.
And assume not the website, right? You cannot.
No. We can't do that, it would have to be in the FOP website, on their organizational website.
Yeah, I'll let you.
What about have a button that can take you?
To FOP? From Aspen?
No, like, no. From our website, where you can click on it, that will take you to FOP website.
I'm just saying.
No, you-
All right, yeah, so we'll
Litigious.
get more clarity on that. So that's a good segue into the next one. I mean, items that need to be added. So we'll get more clarification on the formal check-in, like as far as decision making and timing is concerned, and then figure out get more detail on the field trip fee donations. Was there anything else that folks want to follow up on? I mean, we did talk about the CIWP performance goals updates, but I think that's, I'll put that in here just in case, but, just by reference.
Should we put budgeting on there as just a line item if we need to start discussing that and being prepared? Or just include it in the principal's report?
Budgeting?
Like any updates you mean regarding budgeting? I mean,
Yeah, or any activities or anything we need to do, or is it just keep it?
so like I mentioned, like I'm gonna reach out to LSC members, like the creating of the budget subcommittee just to prepare for that. But again, they have not given us updates in
Put
regards
that
to
there.
when.
We'll see what.
But I mean, any budgeting updates, I would say, I think it's safe to say we should add that, because I may get something in the next few weeks. But again, I
Subcommittee.
think just the only thing that is upcoming right now for me is they're gonna give us tomorrow an update on end of year spending. That's it, and that's something that we're talking to teachers about please submit any requests that you have for materials for next school year in anticipation for end of year spending.
Okay. I'll put that in as a line item. Old business, I put online posting of LSC candidate statements, so thank you for putting that up there. So RIPs also has a link on their communication to all the statements. I thought that was great. So thanks for doing that. Nothing crazy there. Public participation?
Warren.
We've got several.
Lauren Spiker, I have a second grader and a fifth grader, and then the child is in there for this relevant. I also am a Girl Scout leader to 19 fifth graders. And I bring that up because something that Cece mentioned reminded me of this. Student voice is like super important. Part of the reason why we choose to come to Peirce instead of our neighborhood school. Peirce's boundaries are actually across the street. If we lived across the street, we would be in Peirce boundaries. But my daughter and several of my scouts used to be involved in student council, and I know that student council this year is only 7th and 8th grade. It used to start in 3rd grade. She was involved all the way back then and for a few years. And it was so lovely hearing the girls talk about how they would be involved and like peer education, like when there would be incidents in the school, like graffiti in the bathrooms, like actually going to the other classrooms and saying like, hey, this is going on, this is how we're gonna like address it or whatnot. Standing like side by side with the principal. It gave an opportunity to teach them all about like leadership, public speaking. And it's really important to them that that's not happening this year. And we had like a fearless leader, Mr. Rivera, who is an outstanding human and also guide for them, who I know has been willing to do that as well. And so I just want to encourage you all and admin to make sure that that still happens going forward. We're like at the very, very tail end of the year. But I just want to encourage that continues going forward because it shouldn't start at the very like 7th to 7th and 8th grade. I think instilling that in the younger grades is really important. Just like Cece was teaching them about LSC in 1st grade, this is something that we should all be like teaching our kids how to speak up and be a part of the conversation really early.
So when, at the start of the year, during the principal selection process, and I was trying to get like thoughts from all the student groups, I emailed Mr. Rivera about, third, fourth student council, because I had known that was a thing, because I saw your daughter at student voice committee last year. And he, like, told me to email Mr. Chad about it, and Mr. Chad said it wasn't happening yet. So that's why I organized the third, through sixth, student forum to get more information from those students, because fifth, sixth hasn't started, and I've repeatedly emailed those teachers, but it's like still not starting. I'm not really sure why.
So to give an update, they're gonna be launching April 1st for fifth, sixth.
Thank
April
you
1st.
for doing that and for like really having the initiative.
Thanks.
Very good. Thank you.
I just wanna second that because like it shouldn't take till April to get that started. Those kids should be enjoying that all year long. So, like, can we get that in place for, as we are, you said week 0, like that's very exciting to like have like some systems in place for week 0 so that the kids that can hit the ground running. I'm Cece's mom and also Iggy's mom and Neva's mom. I just had 2 points. The community building that I've seen since you've joined Peirce has been really wonderful and uplifting. I don't know if you necessarily had a hand in this, but you mentioned the website. I think the new photos on the website are really awesome. There's a bunch of staff on there that had not previously been on or the pictures were missing, and I think that's a really amazing tool for community building. Super excited to see that. I wanted to also congratulate you all on the equity forum. I thought that was a really big success and really fun. I think it was wonderful to hear from Mr. Chad, who was the first at the beginning of the year. We put him on the spot. He gave a very technical presentation, and he like really rebounded so beautifully at the forum and shared himself and was really vulnerable. And it was so cool learning all these really neat things about him. So thank you to him for also sharing himself with us and continuing to build community. And to you two for also coming. Like it's really terrific to keep building the bonds between the admin and the teachers and the parents and the students, and so I think that was just the beginning of a really wonderful step. I wanted to follow up quickly on the bullying thing from last year, and I may be remembering this wrong, but I remember a conversation at an LSC meeting, probably like 1 year ago, maybe February, March, where we were trying to get more information about the process, and it appeared that the principal was maybe delegating some of that work. And I just want to hold space for the families on both sides of a bullying allegation or victim, and helping them through that process and feel affirmed. And I think like hearing from the principal, I think that was really shocking. And again, I may have misunderstood through the conversation, but that's what I pictured in my mind was that the principal was not involved. And that feels like a missed opportunity and a breakdown of community building. Again, even if the bullying has not met the threshold, like if something's happening, both families or children are hurting, parents are hurting, caregivers are hurting. So how are they being tended to from the administration? We didn't have Mr. Chad's position last year, so I think like a follow-up to hear more about what that looks like would be really helpful and reassuring. Maybe the LSC could discuss that further or like advise on that. My second piece is, the specials. And I wasn't gonna say anything, but this, the specials, the turnover with the Spanish teacher is making me wonder, like what is the job description for the new coming Spanish teacher? What are the goals and like benchmarks for our Spanish program at Peirce? I've seen a lot of worksheets with like really basic Spanish, and it seems again like this such a missed opportunity. We have an incredibly rich Spanish speaking group of students and parents at our school, and now we have a bilingual principal. And so what can we do to be like enriching the experience of the English native speakers and also helping the Spanish native speakers or bilingual speakers like be leaders, as we were saying, like pairing the 8th graders with the 1st graders and like visiting the classes. Like every time my kids get to do that cross, inter-grade opportunity, like it's just like thrilling for both sides, like the younger kids and the older kids. And so how can we continue to do that in other areas at Peirce? I think Spanish could be a really cool opportunity. And the second is technology. We used to have a technology teacher. I'm curious because my kids talk so much about the time on the iPads, like in the recess, like why are these kids on iPads? That's like a whole other thing. I don't think they should be on it, but that's just my opinion. What type of like internet literacy, research literacy, AI literacy are we doing? Again, because one of my kids has a research project and they just were like, kids, like not really giving any direction or information as far as I can tell about like deciding what are good sources. And so his project, which could have been, I think, much richer, was pretty flat based on, again, he did this all at school and I was like, you gotta bring this home and we can all work on it together. But not every kid is gonna have the opportunity to come home and continue to keep researching on the internet. So what else can be done at school to help in this area? I think that it's a place where we should be working more toward it, like in terms of the kids' literacy, but also like backing off of it as like this crutch for like entertaining the kids when there's like they're done with an assignment or there's an indoor recess. Like what else can we be doing and what can we ask of our the grown-ups in the room to like, whether it's a talking circle, an opportunity for a talking circle or a student-led, activity, if the teacher has to take like a few moments. I just would like to see it not always go to the device.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, something that I just thought of was last year I was part of this, like for a few weeks, I think, this buddy program with Mr. Lerner and the kids that he like pulls out of class, the native Spanish speakers, to work on English. And we went to the library and got to read a book in English and a book in Spanish, and it was a really cool experience. It was with a kid that was a year younger than me, but it was like really fun, like not only making new friends, but like learning new words for both of us. And I think, I don't know if that's continuing still, but like continuing that would be really cool because I feel like that was both beneficial to us English native speakers and to the Spanish native speakers, and like sort of collaborating over learning new languages together. So.
Yes. Okay. Hey, y'all, I've got my list. Very tactical. Thank you for all of the updates, y'all, and Mr. Avila, thank you for a really thorough report. Really appreciate it. I went to try to find it, and I went to try to find the last one. The last one in the minutes, I don't have access. Like I couldn't access the last one, and this one I don't think like we can see. So would love to just continue to ask the question of like, and similarly with the parent group reports, how parents across the community have access to these things, especially like in real time for the meetings. I would have loved to be looking at like the attendance data and things like that. Don't necessarily need it printed, but even just in the drive or something like that, or like before an LSC meeting, Mr. Avila, if you're able to email that out to folks so we can follow along, I think it would be really great. Because there's so much great info in there. And then just a couple short pieces on the CIWP conversation. I really appreciated the discussion about meeting the needs of all students, but also really focusing on the experiences of our Black students and our multilingual students. I would encourage folks to look at and think about targeted universalism as a lens for that. I think it's a really important and powerful part of the CPS equity framework, and there's some really good resources there. I think we could really utilize that, and it could help guide some of those conversations. The TLDR on it is like, everyone has a goal and everyone needs different supports to get to that goal. And so how do we identify the experiences and supports needed? And then how do we help folks get there? On some of the student outcomes that we were talking about, I really appreciated the culture and climate updates and hearing that the Student Voice Committee is looking at Cultivate data and feedback. I would be really curious what those conversations are. And I think to the point of continue, this is my soapbox always, but the parent, staff, student communication and collaboration, I think understanding as a parent, like how culture and climate shows up in daily routines and practices. I think folks really appreciated being in the circle, and then also had questions about like, okay, but what does this look like on a daily basis? And what are some of the challenges and what are some of the ways that this really shines? And so I think whether it's like understanding opportunities for student leadership and student voice, or if it's understanding culture and climate and student experience, or if it's understanding curriculum and like
how things are happening in specials or at different grade levels. I think it's hard as a parent to always track what's happening and how we can know and how we can support and how we can engage. I think that would be really powerful. I was actually just in a meeting with some of the Skyline folks the other day, and they're thinking about, from a Skyline perspective, like how to share, like with parents, the curricular goals. And I wonder whatever curricula gets decided here, like how parents can understand like what's happening in classrooms and how to understand like by the end, and actually definitely in kindergarten, maybe also in first grade, like by the end of this year, your child will be able to X, Y, and Z, but I forget that, right? Like that was in September and that's hard as a parent. So just thinking about the parent communication. And the last thing I'll say is thinking about week 0 and thinking about how students and families can contribute to understanding how to start the year. And I think the last school year start was really tricky for a lot of people because of just some last minute communication and perceived changes. And I wonder how collectively as a school community, we can think about week 0 and people can feel informed, collaborated with, consulted, whatever, so that it feels like, especially with the new administration and with the new CIWP, how we start the school year on a really strong, collective, collaborative foot. So thank you so much for sharing all of those things, Mr. Avila, and just kind of wondering where and how parents can kind of step in, learn more, support, and feel connected at the heart. And students too.
Very good. Thank you.
That's it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Announcements, comments?
I have a comment about the public participation. Thank you guys for speaking up and sharing some ideas. I wanted to kind of, while some of these guys were talking, like one of the things I was thinking is I hear a lot of valid points and a lot of great suggestions and ideas from them. And my thought was us as a LSC parent representatives, we are representing the other parents from the community. So my question is, how can we support them? Because it just feels like they say stuff, we say kind of thank you, and doesn't go anywhere. So I feel like a lot of times, like some of these ideas that they bring, how can we reintroduce them, put them back on the agenda, where we can discuss it and not just be them just saying it in the empty air kind of thing. So I don't know, us as a LSC committee, I think we need to figure out some of these suggestions. How can we start implementing them and maybe bring them back to the next meeting?
You just reintroduce it and put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
No, that makes
When
sense.
Matthew asked.
Well, the question is, can they ask or do one of us has to say, let's bring, I think, or you made a great point about, having participation from a younger age. All of that is very good material that we can kind of.
When Matthew asked, what do you want on the agenda? And you
Okay.
have to put it on, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can formalize that too, like, when we have the new business, we say any items that need to be added to the agenda, maybe we can have like a second, part two after public participation.
Yeah, we don't need to spend a great amount of time, but I feel like it's some really good points that we can kind of.
So, yeah, I can add, we do have an inbox, and it's after 8 o'clock. I just admit I'm not gonna remember everything at this time. So having a lot of things in writing, definitely before a meeting, it's one on like a council level. We circulated an email several days before and say, what additional items, here's our draft agenda, what else do we want to add? I think those are the times where it's good to just have things sent into the LSC Gmail box, and I don't think it has to be tied to any date. But just like the different community organizations having reports setting ahead of time, it helps plan a meeting. But that stuff also, many of the things are really administrative. And just having those things in writing really helps us staff to be able to prioritize which ones to address. And some of those things, if they're on paper in advance, that could become part of a principal's report. Over the last week, these were some questions. Here's some prepared answers because we've had time to think about it. Versus like, this we hear a concern and it's already late at night and there's nothing that can be done right now. But having them in writing ahead of time, I think, is very helpful.
Very good. Other announcements,
Something about a float for next year?
to thank all of you who have, who participated in the lunar year parade, or the year of the horse. Actually, the mayor attended. We were one of the very last floats, so we didn't get to see a ton of the action, ahead of time. It was really cold as well. But we had a great time. We had a great time. So I like to let everybody know that, we're actively preparing for the Lunar Year Parade next year. And we'll be working with FOP and REP and everyone to kind of get a float if possible. So please stay tuned.
On the brick pavers, my son brought his brick back.
You did?
His backpack was heavy, but he brought it back.
Norms, thanks everyone for hanging. This one was a long one. Thanks for hanging in with us. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second, Sony gets it.
All in favor? Thanks everyone. Thanks for coming. See you next time.
It's just Daddy, my backpack is so heavy, I don't want to carry it.